Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook, American Comics. Under Loki, the Frozen Fruit Ability. Chapter 121. The scepter in my hand can sense that the Tesseract has awakened. It's in a small world right now, the human world. They are trying to harness the power of the Tesseract, but they will not succeed. Only I and my allies can harness it. Gamora, I will send you as a vanguard. Your mission is to use all methods to get the Tesseract. Then our ally Ronan the Accuser will lead his fleet and Chitauri army to attack Earth. Ronan provided us with information about the infinite gems, and we gave him the Earth in exchange. As for humans, we still follow the old rules, kill half and keep the other half. Among the battleships, on the high seat and throne of eternal Titan Thanos, he gave orders to Gamora, a Zehubri man who bowed his head and half kneeled below. But no one in the battleship saw the flash of hatred in Gamora's eyes, hidden in the shadows. However, Gamora, who grew up under Thanos' training, has long been able to control her emotions well. At the same time, a plan to change her own destiny was brewing in Gamora's mind, but on the surface Gamora still said respectfully without hesitation, "Father." Earth, in a research base jointly established by S.H.I.E.L.D. and the United States National Aeronautics and Space Administration. It was already midnight at this moment, but the research base was filled with excitement. A large number of S.H.I.E.L.D. agents are transporting and transferring important experimental equipment and research materials in the base, and scientists belonging to the National Aeronautics and Space Administration of the United States are also evacuating in a panic. Only Agent Phil Coulson stood calmly in this busy scene, looking so out of tune with the surrounding environment. Soon, the sound of propellers rotating at high speed came from the distance, and a Black Hawk-armed helicopter fell from the sky. Coming off the helicopter were Maria Hill, Executive Director of S.H.I.E.L.D., and Nick Fury, current S.H.I.E.L.D. Director. Obviously, it was these two officers that Phil Coulson was waiting for here. How bad is the situation now? When Fury came to Phil Coulson, he didn't even say hello first, which shows how urgent the experimental base is facing now. Hearing Fury's question, Phil Coulson replied with a look of embarrassment, "Sir, the worst thing is that we don't know how bad the situation is now." Quote. Fury didn't know what to say when he heard this. He could only wave to Phil Coulson and motion for him to lead the way. On the way to the scene of the incident, Phil Coulson also introduced the specific circumstances of the emergency to Fury and Hill. Phil Coulson. Dr. Selvig detected the energy waves released by the Tesseract 4 hours ago. Fury. If I remember correctly, Selvig was not approved by NASA to enter the testing phase. Phil Coulson. Dr. Selvig didn't test it. He wasn't in the lab at the time. It was triggered automatically. Hill. Tesseract starts on its own. Phil Coulson nodded in response. Fury. What is the energy level of the Tesseract now? Phil Coulson. It was still climbing and Dr. Selvig couldn't stop it, so we ordered an immediate evacuation. Fury. How long will it take for complete evacuation? Phil Coulson. Half an hour is perfectly adequate. Fury. Make them faster. Upon hearing this, Phil Coulson, who had sent the two to their destination, turned around and directed the evacuation of the people on site. After Phil Coulson left, Hill said to Fury, "Sir, I don't think evacuation has any effect at all." In front of Phil Coulson just now, Hill wanted to save some face for Director Fury. Now that there are only two of them left, Hill naturally has to exert her functions as executive director and put forward her own opinions from different angles. Then what should we do? Let them all go back and rest. Fury was now incompetent and furious. After all, he was the one who led the restart of the Pegasus project, but now something beyond his control has happened. For Fury, it is absolutely a stain. Hill also understood the pressure on Fury at the moment, and did not continue to refute him, but patiently explained, "What I mean is, if we cannot control the energy of the Tesseract, there will be no such thing as a safe distance, then the entire world will be destroyed by this energy." Fury definitely knows this, which is why he, as S.H.I.E.L.D. director, is here at this moment. If the worst happens, Fury will use his last resort. "Agent Hill, this is not your concern right now. You go and ensure the safe transfer of the Phase 2 prototype." "Sir, it's now this time, are you sure you want to give them priority?" Hill questioned. But Fury was impatient at the moment. He stopped and looked at Hill seriously and said, "Unless the end of the world really comes, just follow my orders." Phase 2. Every part of the prototype has been. It's your responsibility to move out. Do you understand me, Agent Hill? Yes, sir. Since Fury said so, Hill, the executive director, could only obey the SHIELD director's order and left to handle the tasks assigned by Fury. After walking down another flight of stairs and reaching nearly 100 meters underground, Nick Fury finally arrived at the real experimental site of Tesseract. Tell me what's going on, Dr. Selvig. Eric Selvig, who was nervously looking for a solution, saw Fury appear and hurriedly stepped forward and said, "The current situation is that the Tesseract is not very obedient. It is not only awakened, but also active on its own. How about unplugging it?" Fury suggested. No, the Tesseract is originally an energy source. Even if we cut off the external power supply, it can still power itself. Dr. Selvig objected. Isn't this what we want? To obtain the energy in the Tesseract? Fury asked again. The problem is that we can't control the energy it releases, and we are still far from being able to do this. Dr. Selvig answered truthfully. Okay, where is Agent Barton? Seeing that he could not get any more useful information from Dr. Selvig, Fury decided to change the subject of the inquiry. Are you talking about Hawkeye? He stays in his nest, as always. Dr. Selvig said jokingly, pointing to the ceiling above his head with his thumb. Tell me, Barton, did you see anyone activate the Tesseract? Barton shook his head and said, there are no suspicious persons coming in or out, and Dr. Selvig has no problem. No one in the experimental base contacts the outside world or transmits information. If there is any interference, I don't think it comes from our side, sir. Fury looked at Barton confused and asked, not from our side, what do you mean by that? Barton explained. I heard that the Tesseract is a passage to the other side of the universe, and passages are two-way, right? As soon as Barton finished speaking, the Tesseract on the side seemed to respond to his statement with a violent energy reaction. Just when everyone was surprised by this, a beam of light shot out from the Tesseract, forming a space wormhole in the laboratory. Clint Barton, the Hawkeye with the best eyesight among everyone present, saw the graceful green figure coming out of the wormhole at a glance. The graceful figure that appeared in the experimental base from the space wormhole was Gamora, who was sent to Earth by Thanos to serve as a pioneer. Gamora, who has distinctive green skin, aroused the vigilance of all the people on Earth as soon as she appeared. But under everyone's alert gaze, Gamora raised the scepter in her hand. Seeing the gem on the top of the scepter in her hand light up, all the SHIELD agents present, led by Nick Fury, pulled out their guns at their waists and aimed at Gamora in front of them. As for Barton, nicknamed Hawkeye, he took out the arrow from his back, placed the arrow on his longbow, and also aimed it at Gamora. However, at this moment, Gamora calmly said to everyone, "Don't be nervous, I am not your enemy. If you don't want this place to become a ruin due to the collapse of space, you'd better let me open the Tesseract first. The space channel is closed." Hearing this, all the agents paid some attention and looked at Nick Fury, who was their leader. Fury also knew what they meant when they looked at him, they were waiting for him to respond. But regarding this matter, Fury didn't know whether what the other party said was true or false. He could only look at Dr. Selvig next to him and asked, "Dr. Selvig, is what she said true?" Dr. Selvig nodded and said, "She must not be lying. If there is no stabilizer to control the energy output of the Tesseract, then there is indeed a great possibility of space collapse, which will trigger a violent chain reaction." After receiving Dr. Selvig's confirmation, Fury looked at Gamora and said, "Okay, let's trust you for now. But if you do something dangerous, then our SHIELD's bullets are not very good." Gamora rolled her eyes and ignored Fury's threat. With the primitive thermal weapons currently available on Earth, it would be impossible to injure her. However, Gamora had her own plans and purposes when she came to Earth this time, and she did not want to cause misunderstandings with the people on Earth. Now that Fury has agreed to her action, Gamora has no worries and launches the energy in the scepter towards the Tesseract. As this energy hit the Tesseract accurately, the energy level that had been rising before finally stabilized. The space channel just opened by Tesseract finally closed slowly after losing the energy support of Tesseract, without causing any disaster. "Okay, beautiful lady, can you introduce yourself now?" After seeing the other party hit the Tesseract with a strange light and successfully calmed it down, Fury finally let go of his uneasiness and focused all his attention on the unknown alien lady in front of him. My name is Gamora, and I come from the planet Zelhuberry. The reason why I appear here today, AHCB, is because I was assigned by a cosmic warlord named Thanos to come to Earth to seize the Tesseract. At this point, Gamora said a little. There was a pause. After hearing Gamora's self-introduction and the mention of cosmic warlord, and she's here to seize the Tesseract, Fury's expression instantly became tense. Around him, the agents who had already relaxed once again tightened their grip on the firearms in their hands, and at the same time stared closely at Gamora's every move. Not to mention Barton. Since Gamora appeared, he has never let go of his vigilance, and the bow and arrow in his hand are always aimed at the opponent's vital parts. Gamora ignored the performance of everyone in S.H.I.E.L.D. and continued, "However, I do not intend to act according to Thanos' instructions. I came to the Earth this time in the hope of uniting the power of the Earth to stop Thanos' ambitions." Miss Gamora, can you stop gasping when you speak? Important information should be said at once. Fury couldn't help but complain. Gamora shrugged and said, "This is my first time trying to communicate using the language of your Earth. There are some wrong grammar and sentence fragmentation, but there is nothing I can do about it." Understood. Then I will listen to your speech more patiently, Miss Gamora. Since you just said that you hope to form an alliance with the power of the Earth, can you first tell me who the Thanos you are talking about is? Who? How did he know the Tesseract was on our planet? In response to Fury's question, Gamora organized her language a little. Antoine answered. Thanos is a powerful being that no one knows in the universe, and he is also the ultimate demon who has killed countless people. Under him are the 4 Obsidian generals who look up to him. They have been led by the 4 Obsidian generals and are obedient to Thanos. From the Dark Army. My hometown, Zelhuberry, was killed by Thanos and destroyed by the Dark Army. And I became Thanos' adopted daughter and was raised by him as a weapon. This is why I betrayed Thanos. Reasons. As for how he knew that the Tesseract was on Earth, it was because Thanos' Dark Legion had recently become allies with the Accuser Legion of the Kree Empire. Ronan of the Accuser Legion told Thanos about this. See. In addition, it is because of your research on Tesseract that Thanos sensed through this scepter, and finally confirmed the news of Tesseract on Earth. Fury felt like he was struck by lightning when he heard this. The reason he proposed to restart the Pegasus project and use the Tesseract to conduct research on weapon development was because he hoped that when the Earth encountered threats from alien civilizations, it would have the ability to protect itself. But he never thought that what attracted the attention of alien civilizations to the Earth would be the Pegasus project that he advocated to restart. What shocked Fury even more was that the Kree Empire had made a comeback. You must know that the last time the Kree Empire appeared outside the Earth's atmosphere, it was defeated by 3 girls, Elsa, Anna and Carol. Now that the Accuser fleet of the Kree Empire has arrived on Earth again, its strength will definitely be improved than before. However, compared with that time, the Earth has not undergone any substantial evolution in terms of strength. Could it be that when the enemy actually declares war on the Earth, he will have to use his only and last trump card? Just when Fury was worried about the future of the Earth, Gamora once again revealed a desperate news to him. This time Thanos assigned me to come to Earth to seize the Tesseract just as a pioneer, and soon the Earth will face the invasion of the 2 most powerful cosmic armies in the universe. In exchange for information on the location of the Tesseract, Thanos will help Ronan complete his invasion of Earth. Now the Chitauri army under the Dark Legion and the Accuser army under Ronan Moore are already gathering. The star map of the Accuser Legion is marked with the precise cosmic coordinates of the Earth. After they are assembled, they will come to the Earth through space jumping technology and invade the Earth. If we calculate from now on, the time it will take them to reach Earth will only take 2 Earth days at the fastest. Upon hearing the news, the surrounding scientists first fell into panic and despair, and even the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents were filled with uneasiness. But as the king of agents, S.H.I.E.L.D. director, Nick Fury, the more desperate the situation becomes, the calmer he becomes. He did not continue to ask Gamora for specific information about the invader, because he knew very well that compared with the Earth, the opponent's strength was absolutely overwhelming. Fury asked a question that surprised everyone present. Since the enemy we are facing is so powerful, I would like to know, Ms. Gamora, why do you think the Earth can win this war? Gamora looked at Fury's eyes and couldn't help but smile. I never said that I thought the Earth could win this war. How did you know? Hearing this, Fury further confirmed his suspicion. If I didn't have full confidence, I don't believe that Miss Gamora, you have been holding back for so long, and you would suddenly decide to betray. But the fact is, Miss Gamora, you not only betrayed Thanos, but also proposed to unite our forces on Earth. That can only mean one thing: you know some secrets that we don't know, and this secret will be possible decide the real victory or defeat of this game. Gamora did not deny. You are very smart. I think we can start talking about cooperation now. Phil Coulson, the evacuation mission can be stopped. Next, I need you to go to New York in person and tell Tony and Captain that it's time for the Avengers to assemble. In the laboratory, Fury said seriously to Phil Coulson on the other end of the communicator. After saying that, he looked at Barton next to him and said, Barton, Thor returned to Earth not long ago and is now with his little girlfriend Jane Foster. I need you to go to the foggy capital of England to rescue Thor. Take it to our helicarrier. Yes, sir. Barton put away the folding bow in his hand, put the arrows back into the quiver behind his back, and turned to leave. But at this moment Fury stopped him. Wait, Barton. There is one more thing. Help me tell the Romanov agent and let her take Bruce Banner aboard the ship. Barton nodded. Copy that. It wasn't until Barton left that Fury walked up to Gamora and said, Well, Miss Gamora, if you don't mind, let's change to a more formal place and talk about our mutual cooperation. I really want to know what secret Miss Gamora knows that makes you so confident in our Earth. To be honest, as an Earthling, I was so panicked after knowing the news about the enemy. Although Fury was panicking when he spoke, both his expression and tone showed his calmness. Gamora did not reject Fury's proposal. Because the crisis in Tesseract was over, and Hill's mission was temporarily over, she returned to Fury. But before the three left the laboratory, Gamora suggested to the two, I think it is best for you to temporarily stop research on Tesseract until this crisis is over. Otherwise, if the Tesseract remains active, I cannot guarantee whether other Thanos minions will be teleported to Earth in the future. In addition, one more reminder, the Tesseract is not something that the current Earth can hold. You don't understand the origin of this treasure at all. As long as the Tesseract is on the Earth, Thanos will not stop invading the Earth. Thanos' obsession with the Tesseract is far beyond your imagination. Fury raised his eyebrows when he heard this and said, Then I think that during our conversation later, maybe you can tell us about the Tesseract. After saying that, Fury looked at Hill again. Tell Dr. Selvig that the Pegasus project is temporarily suspended. You go take the Tesseract and we will leave here right away. Hill found a suitcase, put the Tesseract in it, followed Fury and Gamora, and left the laboratory. The three people boarded the helicopter and quickly left the experimental base, heading towards a coordinate in the Pacific Ocean. Soon, when the helicopter landed, they had arrived on a huge amount of mothership. On the bridge, the three of them were sitting in the conference room. As an outsider, Gamora naturally waited quietly for the owner here to speak first. As Fury's deputy, Hill sat quietly aside, waiting for Fury to speak. Miss Gamora, the first thing I want to say is that I agree in principle with the cooperation you proposed. But whether this cooperation can ultimately be achieved depends on the extent of our mutual trust. Director Nick Fury, I have no objection to this. As for the information you want to know, as long as I know it, I can tell you without reservation. Gamora said. Then let's talk about the Tesseract first. According to the information I know, this treasure has appeared on the Earth for a long time. At least 1,000 years ago, the ruler of Asgard brought the Tesseract to the Earth. But until today, we still know very little about this treasure. Since you mentioned before that Thanos is determined to win the Tesseract, I guess its power must be more than what we see. Gamora, what I know about Tesseract is from Thanos. The real name of Tesseract should be called Space Gem, which is one of the 6 infinite gems born at the beginning of the Big Bang. The purpose of Thanos establishing the Dark Legion and leading his 4 obsidian generals to invade the universe is to collect all 6 infinite gems into his own hands. Fury, I think the reason why he wants to collect 6 infinite gems is not because of a simple collecting habit. Gamora, definitely not. Thanos has always believed that resources are limited in our universe, and that unlimited growth in the population will trigger people's competition for resources, eventually leading to the destruction of the entire universe. So every time Thanos encounters a civilization, he will massacre half of all life on the planet. He believes that it is his just act that allows the civilization on this planet to obtain longer with limited resources. The continuation of time. And once Thanos collects 6 infinite gems, he can instantly wipe out half of the life in his universe with just a snap of his fingers. Fury has always thought that he has seen a big scene. After all, 3 girls defeated an entire alien fleet with their bare hands. Fury believes that there is no other person in the entire Earth who has seen such a thing besides him. But even so, Fury was inevitably shocked when he heard Gamora say that if Thanos collected all 6 infinite gems, he could easily wipe out half of all life in the universe. Imagine that on a sunny day, you have breakfast as usual and drive to the office, and then suddenly half the population of the Earth evaporates. Regardless of whether you or your loved ones are one of the unlucky ones, this kind of unforeseen horror will undoubtedly make the half of the survivors completely lose their sense of security, and they may live in a state of constant panic for the rest of their lives. Listening to what you said, it seems that we must win this battle no matter what. The Tesseract cannot fall into the hands of Thanos under any circumstances. Fury said firmly, even with a hint of determination in his tone. Yes, this is also the purpose of coming to Earth this time when I pretended to accept Thanos' assignment. Gamora responded. Speaking of which, I still don't know why, Ms. Gamora, you are so confident in the Earth. You have to know whether it is compared with Thanos and the Dark Legion in your mouth, or compared with the accuser fleet of the Kree Empire. The Earth is the absolutely weak side. I really can't imagine how we can win this war. After Fury finished asking the question, Gamora immediately continued, I wonder if director Nick Fury has heard of the names Asgard and Jotunheim. Hearing this, Fury nodded first, then shook his head, and replied, I know Asgard. It is said to be the ruler of the 9 kingdoms. The Earth is what they call Midgard. It is under the rule and protection of Asgard, under. As for the other Jotunheim you mentioned, I only know that it, like the Earth, belongs to one of the 9 kingdoms. I don't know more about the others. Gamora was not surprised by Fury's answer, so she began to introduce to Fury, you were right about Asgard. At its peak, Asgard could be said to be one of the most powerful civilizations in the entire universe. Compared to the Kree Empire is no less generous. I just don't know why, thousands of years ago, Asgard gradually began to shrink its military power and defined its own rule as the territory of the 9 kingdoms. But precisely because of this, Asgard's ability to control the 9 kingdoms can be said to have reached a very solid level. Coupled with the illustrious reputation that Odin, the ruler of Asgard, once left in the universe, even if Thanos wanted to get the Tesseract, he would not dare to send a large number of troops to the Earth, let alone enter the territory of the 9 kingdoms in person. Quote, as for Jotunheim, it was originally just a small country with little reputation in the universe, but since Odin's adopted son became the king of Jotunheim 1,000 years ago, this country has quickly become an existence that is not inferior to Asgard in strength. Under the protection of these 2 powerful countries, whether it is Thanos or Ronan, the number of troops sent to the Earth is bound to not be too many. Because once Asgard and Jotunheim consider it to be a threat, then these 2 countries will make the counterattack as definitely something they don't want to face. After listening to Gamora's introduction to Asgard and Jotunheim, Fury felt a little more confident about the upcoming war. But we can't place our destiny entirely on the protection and assistance of others. I think the source of your confidence, Miss Gamora, should be much more than this, right? Fury asked tentatively. It seems that director Nick Fury is indeed a master of insight into people's hearts, but you don't seem to understand the power of your Earth that well. I also learned about this matter from the lieutenant of Ronan the Accuser. According to him, the fleet of their Accuser Legion visited the Earth decades ago in order to hunt down the Skrulls. But as soon as they appeared outside the Earth's atmosphere, without even having a chance to land on the Earth's surface, they were attacked by 3 powerful men from the Earth. In that battle, 3 strong men from the Earth relied on their own strength to easily destroy most of the battleships of the Accuser Legion, causing them to abandon their armor and flee. If we can find these 3 powerful Earth heroes, then even if the Accuser Legion is joined by the Chitauri army, the Earth side will have an absolute chance of winning. Upon hearing this, Fury's face, which had just regained some confidence, suddenly changed and collapsed immediately. At the same time, Fury secretly muttered in his heart, I know these 3 people better than you, okay. If it were so easy to get them to take action, I wouldn't have to regard them as the last resort. When Carol and Anna sent the Tesseract back to Earth, they left him a cosmic communicator. Through this cosmic communicator, Fury can unilaterally send distress signals to them. Both of them also promised that they would rush back to Earth as soon as possible after receiving the news. However, Fury will not use this favor easily unless it is the last moment. And more importantly, although asking Carol and Anna for help, there is a high probability that this crisis can be easily solved. But what about next time? What about the next time? Do we place our hope on their rescue every time? Over time, this will inevitably cause the Earth to suffer from severe dependence, and it will never be able to develop the power to respond to major crises independently. Just like another bald man from a certain 600th world said, Superman imprisons mankind into the cradle of comfort, does not give mankind the opportunity to grow in the face of crisis, and weakens the racial potential of mankind. Faced with the huge power gap, Carol and Anna are the Supermans of the Marvel Universe, and Fury, as the director of S.H.I.E.L.D., will never allow humans to fall to their own devices. Therefore, Fury feels that this incident is both a crisis and an opportunity. If it can be handled properly, his long-planned Avengers plan can successfully pass the Security Council's approval through this incident. From now on, the Earth will have its own super crisis team, dedicated to dealing with major crises like this one that ordinary soldiers and S.H.I.E.L.D. agents cannot solve. So Fury will definitely not be satisfied with Gamora's desire to find Elsa, Anna and Carol. It won't be enough, at least for the time being. So after Fury thought briefly, he told Gamora a lie. Although I don't want to undermine your confidence, Miss Gamora. The 3 superheroes you mentioned left the Earth soon after defeating the Kree Empire's fleet. You also know that as far as the government is concerned, such powerful people are not allowed to appear on the Earth. As long as they stay on the Earth for one day, those careerists will not let go of studying their rash. So in order to avoid losing control one day due to such harassment, the 3 of them have long stopped living on the Earth. After hearing the news, Gamora felt as if she had been struck by lightning, and her whole body fell into a sluggish state. Originally, she thought that these 3 superheroes should be the hidden power of the Earth. When the Earth faces the threat of being destroyed by invaders, they will definitely stand up to fight against the fleet sent by Thanos and Ronan. But now Fury actually told her that these 3 people had left the Earth decades ago. How will they win in this upcoming war? There is no answer. Even though Gamora racked her brains, she couldn't come up with any idea. Sure enough, am I still too naive? Gamora, who was extremely disappointed, lowered her head and laughed at herself. Miss Gamora, I think we shouldn't give up hope early. Although the 3 superheroes who once helped the Earth tide over the difficulties have left, many new strange people have been born on the Earth over the years. Seeing that Gamora was starting to give up on herself, Fury quickly opened her mouth to encourage her. After several conversations between them, Kayla has temporarily gained Fury's initial trust. As the king of agents, Fury has learned over his long career never to completely trust anyone. Being able to initially gain his trust is enough to prove that Gamora is indeed a partner worthy of cooperation, at least for the time being. Seeing that what he said attracted Gamora's attention, Fury struck while the iron was hot and continued. In fact, before we left the experimental base studying Tesseract, I had already asked people to contact the new generation of superheroes on the Earth. They each have their own unique abilities, but they also possess unparalleled wisdom. With their joining, I believe that by working together, we will be able to find a way to fight against the alien invaders. Not only that, you just mentioned Asgard. According to the news I received, their great prince Thor, is on our Earth at the moment, and we have a very deep friendship with Thor. If he can join the team for this operation, maybe we can get support from Asgard and Jotunheim. I never thought you could actually have a relationship with Asgard. Gamora was definitely shocked when she heard the news, but at the same time she was extremely excited. This means that they may really have hope to stop Thanos' ambitions this time. At this moment, Agent Hill, who had been sitting quietly listening to the exchange between the two, suddenly stood up and walked to Fury and said, "Sir, we just received the news from Agent Barton that Thor has agreed to join the Avengers." Oh, after hearing the good news, even Fury, who had always been very calm, couldn't help but show a look of joy. However, Hill soon brought him an even more surprising news. Not only that, according to Thor, his brother, the god of lies and deceit, the king of Jotunheim, Odinson, is now on Earth. Thor expressed that he is willing to act as our Shield's lobbyist and persuade Loki to join us in this operation. It was learned that Thor had agreed to the invitation of the Avengers project, and was also preparing to rope in the king of Jotunheim to join the operation. Even Agent Hill, who relayed the news, could not help but show excitement in his eyes while speaking. Fury and Gamora are definitely excited, thinking that the situation is improving and there is much to be done. After Hill finished speaking, Fury immediately asked her to tell Barton to fully cooperate with Thor in inviting Loki. No matter what the other party's request is, if he can agree to it, he will agree directly. If he can't make the decision, he will report it to Barton. He will reply to Barton in the shortest possible time. After solving the problem of forming Avengers, Fury continued his conversation with Gamora. He needs to have a deeper understanding of the intelligence about the Accuser Legion and the Chitauri army in order to formulate a more detailed and targeted combat plan. Sir Phil Coulson, we are still 40 minutes away from our destination. While Fury and Gamora were brainstorming on the bridge, Phil Coulson had already taken his idol aboard Quinjet heading to the space carrier. Does Dr. Banner want to replicate the super soldier serum I was injected with? In the cabin, the captain of the United States, who had just woken up from a 70-year slumber, was looking at the information Phil Coulson brought to him and asking questions. Many people think that, after all, Captain, you are the world's first superhero. Phil Coulson tried to reply in as calm a tone as possible. But it can be seen from the expression on his face that he doesn't know what to do, and he is not at peace at the moment. However, Dr. Banner did not take the initiative to conduct this research. He was deceived by the military project leader. For this reason, Dr. Banner received excessive amounts of gamma-ray radiation during subsequent human experiments and became a huge amount of green monster. Through the technological tablet in his hand, Steve Rogers, the captain of the United States, naturally saw the horror of the monster in Phil Coulson's words. That's really counterproductive, Steve said with a frown. Phil Coulson nodded silently, agreeing with the captain's point of view. But immediately Phil Coulson went on to say, fortunately, Dr. Banner's problems were solved later, and now he can control his own power well and will no longer lose control like in the data. When he is not transforming, Dr. Banner is as smart as Stephen Hawking, but after transforming, he becomes as naughty as a child. However, Steve, who had spent 70 years in the ice, obviously had not had time to understand the development and changes in the scientific community over the years. Regarding the Stephen Hawking mentioned by Phil Coulson, Steve's face clearly showed a very confused look. Oh, Stephen Hawking is a great scientist, I mean Dr. Banner, he has intelligence far beyond ordinary people. Phil Coulson also saw the change in the captain's expression, so he quickly explained to him. After finishing speaking, Phil Coulson looked at the captain's satisfied expression after getting the answer. Finally, he could no longer suppress the emotions in his heart and confessed to the captain. Captain, I'm really happy to see you active in the world again. In fact, I saw you before when you were still sleeping in the ice. I was right when you were discovered. The scene. When I learned that the director sent me here to invite you to join us, I felt so honored. Compared to Phil Coulson, who had full confidence in him, Steve said with some worry, I hope I can live up to your trust. Don't worry, Captain, you can definitely do it, absolutely. In addition, I asked SHIELD's engineers to make some changes to your uniform and use the latest bulletproof materials. I hope it can provide you with some help. When talking about uniforms, Phil Coulson's eyes started to shine. Definitely, Phil Coulson is not a uniform control guy. But it was hard for Phil Coulson to control his excitement at the thought of his idol reappearing in front of the world wearing the uniform he proposed to modify. Just when Phil Coulson was daydreaming about the captain wearing uniform and killing everyone on the battlefield, the pilot of the fighter plane suddenly reported, Sir, we are about to arrive at our destination. Hearing this, Phil Coulson and Steve both turned their heads and looked out through the windshield of the cab. As expected, they could already see a huge ship floating on the sea in the vast sea. For the Quinjet, which can take off and land vertically, the pilot easily completed the landing operation, and there was no embarrassing accident of the plane crashing into the sea. Phil Coulson, who had just walked out of the cabin with the captain, saw Natasha Romanoff and Bruce Banner, who were also on the deck. As soon as they met, Natasha Romanoff asked Phil Coulson, "Didn't that guy Stark come with you?" After saying that, she looked at the captain and greeted, "Hello Captain, I am Agent Natasha Romanoff." Steve also shook his hand politely and responded, "Hello, Steve Rogers." At this time, Phil Coulson also said, "Natasha Romanoff, you know Tony's character. But since he has agreed to our invitation, he will show up sooner or later. Don't forget, he is Iron Man." Quote, "Hello, I'm Bruce Banner." Although Dr. Banner is not a fan of the captain, as a scientist who has studied super soldier serum, Banner believes that he and the captain are really destined. "Hello, I just heard Phil Coulson introduce you. I'm sorry for the suffering you have experienced," Steve said. "You don't have to be sorry, Captain, this is not your fault. When I heard your story before, I still didn't understand why Dr. Erskine didn't leave any research data on the super soldier serum formula. But now I finally understand that if you don't have the same character and will as you, Captain, then any serum formula created cannot be a super soldier, but just a terrifying monster." With that said, Banner raised his eyes and glanced at Phil Coulson again, and then continued to talk to the captain. "By the way, Captain, Phil Coulson must have fainted with joy when he saw you. He didn't let you be on his Captain of the United States trading card. Sign it." "Trading card? What do you mean?" The captain was confused. Before Banner could explain, Natasha Romanoff interrupted their conversation. "Gentlemen, I suggest you get into the bridge quickly, because it will become difficult to breathe here soon." As the deck of the mothership was cleared by the crew, Steve and Banner, who had already entered the bridge, could feel an obvious shaking coming from under their feet. It was as if there was a big invisible hand that wanted to press them tightly to the floor. Dr. Banner, who had never experienced such an experience before, seemed a little flustered, while Steve, who was experienced in combat, immediately understood their current situation. He turned to look at Natasha Romanoff, who was standing aside, with a look of shock on his face. In less than 70 years, has the level of scientific and technological progress already reached this level? Steve, who remained calm even in the face of a hail of bullets, was still incredulous after discovering that the mothership he boarded could actually reach the sky. Natasha Romanoff explained to him, "If it is an ordinary person, it will definitely not be able to do this. According to our original estimation, this mothership will not be officially put into service until at least 10 years later. But who allowed us S.H.I.E.L.D. to recruit a talented consultant? Tony Stark, the only son of your old friend Howard Stark, has the same outstanding talent as his father. Tony single-handedly solved all the difficulties and bottlenecks in the manufacturing process of this mothership, and finally created this amazing miracle. I am Iron Man. Now I understand why the media around the world are so obsessed with him. He is indeed a genius who can bring about miracles." Steve couldn't help but sigh. Chihuahuan Desert in North Texas. The environment in the Chihuahuan Desert is extremely harsh and almost no one lives here. But at the moment, there was a figure, standing lonely and abrupt in the desert. System, open the skills panel. Quote, skill, demonic eye of direct death. Proficiency, 24.4%. Seeing that the skill proficiency of Death Eye was almost close to 25%, Loki couldn't help but grin. Just now, he finally found the second duplication sent to the world by Mephisto, and then crossed his death line again and solved it easily. But this time, in addition to the 5% skill proficiency, Loki also gained additional benefits from Mephisto. It was a contract containing powerful magical energy. Loki opened it out of curiosity and took a look at it, only to find that it was the contract Johnny Blaze had coaxed into signing by Mephisto. This is a good thing. As long as you take it with you to break the contract with Johnny, Loki can take back the power of Ghost Rider and give it to anyone who is willing to sign a contract with him again. But if Johnny is unwilling to terminate this contract, then Loki will have no choice. For example, Mephisto in the original plot was manipulated by strong electricity like this. But Loki didn't think Johnny would refuse his request. After all the troubles caused by Mephisto have been solved by him. For Johnny, the best choice is to reunite with his ex-girlfriend Roxanne and return to a normal life. However, before Loki could find Johnny to deal with the contract, Loki was stopped by an unexpected person. Thor, didn't you go find your little girlfriend to spend time together? Why did you appear here at this time? Looking at the helicopter that suddenly appeared in the Chihuahuan desert and Thor getting off the helicopter, Loki couldn't help but wonder. What makes Loki even more strange is that after Thor came down, the man following him was the S.H.I.E.L.D. agent nicknamed Hawkeye, Clint Barton. It will definitely not be easy for these two people to join forces to find him. But even though Loki was frantically recalling it in his mind, he still couldn't figure out what it was that was worthy of the two of them coming together to find him. It's not that Loki doesn't remember the Battle of New York that made the Avengers debut in front of the world, but under the blind spot of his thinking, Loki believes that he, who was originally the culprit, has now changed his destiny. Then the Chitauri army's invasion of the Earth should probably not happen. But Loki obviously still underestimated the inertia of fate. Even if he, the god of lies, was not at the forefront, there would still be others driven by fate to replace his original position in the timeline. This time, it was Ronan and Gamora who replaced Loki and promoted the incident. Brother, my dear brother. Faced with Loki's question, Thor didn't respond to a single word. Instead, he showed a smile that made Loki feel sick, opened his arms and rushed towards Loki, preparing to give Loki a hug from a good big brother. This made Loki even more certain that Thor bringing Barton with him to the desert to look for him this time was definitely up to no good. Since you have guessed this, Loki will definitely not spoil Thor. I saw that he directly used the skill of mirror flowers and water moon, causing Thor's attempt to hug him to fail. Then another person appeared behind Thor and kicked Thor on the buttocks. Pia, following Thor's forward momentum just now, Loki's light kick caused Thor to throw himself onto the street and eat a mouthful of sand. Bah, bah, bah. Thor kept spitting out the sand that fell into his mouth, and his eyes towards Loki became resentful. But after seeing the look Barton gave him, Thor, who seemed to have remembered something, immediately changed his face and became flattering. Stop pretending, brother. How can I still not know your character? If you want me to help you with something, please tell me immediately. If you don't tell me, I will just use it. Flying Thor has left. No, no, no. I said, I will say right away, Loki, don't leave yet. The thing is like this. Soon Thor told Loki that Thanos and Ronan the Accuser were cooperating to send an army to invade the Earth and seize the Tesseract. Loki was also very surprised after learning about this, and he had a new understanding of the fate of the Marvel Universe. It seems that even if his butterfly has been constantly flapping its wings for thousands of years, it has only barely reversed its own destiny, and its impact on the Marvel Universe is still very limited. Even whether Loki's own destiny has really changed is still a question. Loki didn't think too deeply about such ethereal things as fate. The thought just flashed through his mind, and Loki stopped thinking about it. Say something quickly, fart quickly, hurry up. Loki stopped temporarily when Thor called him. Hearing this, Thor did not dare to talk nonsense anymore and quickly said, "What? We hope you can join this action to resist the Accuser army and the Chitauri army." That's right. Barton also stood up at the right time and added, "As long as you are willing to help us solve this crisis, you can put forward any conditions, and we at S.H.I.E.L.D. are willing to try our best to meet your requirements." But what neither Thor nor Barton expected was that after they finished speaking, Loki shook his head without thinking for a second. "Don't refuse so quickly, brother. You should think about it again." Seeing this, Thor quickly advised. Barton also nodded vigorously, obviously echoing Thor's words. "I didn't say I refused." Seeing the two of them like this, Loki showed a smile of success. He just wanted to tease these two guys. After all, it would be fine if he didn't know about this matter. But now that he knows it, it's a good opportunity to have fun and improve your skill proficiency at the same time. How could Loki miss it? Loki now only hopes that Ronan and Thanos will not be too timid, and it is best to send more people over. Otherwise, Loki would just kill them all single-handedly, and I'm afraid it wouldn't be enough to fill up the skill proficiency progress bar. If you weren't refusing just now, why were you shaking your head? Thor said angrily, feeling that he had been tricked by Loki again. Hey, you can't say that. It's all your own judgment based on subjective knowledge. How can you rely on me? Loki retorted. Although both Thor and Barton could see that Loki was clearly playing a trick on them. But don't say they don't have evidence for this kind of thing. Even if they have evidence, there's nothing they can do to Loki. What's more, when it comes to eloquence and sophistry, I'm afraid Thor and Barden combined cannot be Loki's opponent. So there's really nothing they can do against Loki. Then what did you mean by shaking your head just now? Thor knew that Loki would definitely be able to find an excuse to deal with them, but he still asked reluctantly. Oh, I said it was a misunderstanding. I shook my head just now. I didn't mean to reject you. The reason why I shake my head is because you underestimate me too much. You actually think that I have to put forward conditions for accepting this invitation. I think your situation is too small. Not to mention that although Thor is not smart, he is still my brother. When Loki said this, Thor suddenly interrupted. Hey, hey, hey. Be careful what you say. Who is saying that you have a bad mind? Regarding Thor's lack of self-awareness, Loki rolled his eyes at him, and then continued. Don't interrupt. What I mean is that for the sake of your big brother's face, I will definitely not be able to refuse. In addition to the relationship between the two of us, this matter is also related to the face of Jotunheim in Asgard. The enemies have already invaded the 9 realms. As the Prince of Asgard and the King of Jotunheim, if I ignore this, wouldn't it be detrimental to my identity and face? Hearing Loki's explanation, even knowing that it was an excuse he made up, Thor couldn't help but marvel. Well said. Our Asgard royal family should have such a spirit as you, my dear brother, ha 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 ha. Seeing with his own eyes that Thor was so easily convinced by Loki's few words, Barden turned his head and was really blinded. But anyway, Loki finally agreed to their AHCI invitation. In this way, they will have more confidence when facing the Accuser Legion and Chitauri army. But just when Barden was happy that the purpose of their trip was successfully accomplished, Thor asked a question that instantly plunged the scene into an awkward atmosphere. Brother, according to what you just said, can we discuss asking Asgard and Jotunheim to send a supporting army to Midgard each? Loki raised his hands to his forehead speechlessly after hearing Thor's question. He really didn't know whether to say whether Thor was stupid or naive. Barden, on the other hand, looked hesitant to speak, looking at Thor and not knowing what to do. My stupid Aniki, do you want Midgard to go to war with Asgard and Jotunheim? Loki looked at Thor as if he were an idiot and asked. No, why do you ask? Thor asked innocently. Use your less developed brain more, bro. What do you think the armies of Asgard and Jotunheim are different from the armies of the Kree Empire and Thanos in the eyes of Midgardians? Once we win this battle, the 2 armies that came to support us will become Midgard's biggest threat. Although we don't have any negative thoughts about Midgard, this does not prevent the Midgardians from doubting it. As long as the seeds of doubt are sown, the cooperation between the 2 parties will inevitably restrict each other and even lead to conflicts. As a result, a war that could have been won may also fail due to internal fighting between the 2 parties. Brother, if Midgard is really defeated, who do you think the politicians and people will blame for this? Loki's insightful explanation, coupled with the meaningful question at the end, if Thor is still stubborn, it is not stupid, but mentally retarded. Oh, I didn't think about it that much. I just thought it would be a good thing to have more helpers at this time. How could I know? Loki shook his head and said, if the difference in strength between the 2 sides is not big, then we can call for help. If the difference in strength between the 2 sides is too large, then it is called luring the wolf into the house. That means we can only rely on the strength of us people now. Thor said with some disappointment. Barden on the side breathed a sigh of relief when he heard this. After all, he and Thor had worked together in S.H.I.E.L.D. for nearly 10 years. He believed that Thor was just thinking out of his head. But if Loki hadn't raised the issue, or even agreed to Thor's proposal, then Barden should really worry about whether Loki has ulterior motives. S.H.I.E.L.D. air carrier. At the moment, in the conference room on the bridge of the space carrier, it can be said that all races are gathered together. Black, White, Aesir, Giants of Jotunheim and Zeehubari. If this was a movie, it would definitely be Jung-Ji's right. The current situation is that, except for Tony Stark, the maverick super genius who has not yet arrived, all the other objects in Fury's Avengers plan have been gathered here. Not only that, Thor and Barden also brought him Loki, a powerful foreign aide, which made Fury feel confident about the upcoming battle. Although Ronan the Accuser united with Thanos, he became more powerful with the help of the Chitauri army. But Fury believes that with the current lineup, it will definitely not be better than Carol's original lineup. Elsa and Anna have a bad threesome. With only 1 day left at the earliest, the enemy will arrive. According to previous exchanges between Gamora and I, with the current military level of the Earth, it is difficult to directly break through the defense system of enemy warships. But I think offense is the best defense. If we want to win this war, the best combat strategy is to directly destroy the entire warship before the enemy's troops are released from the warship. So today we are all gathered here, on the one hand, to work together to see if everyone can think of a better response to this war. On the other hand, based on your strength, I hope to find someone who can carry out the task of destroying the battleship candidate. Although Nick Fury said this to everyone present, he could tell from the way his only remaining eye kept scanning Dr. Banner, Thor and Loki. Fury knew very well that among all the people here, only these three had the strength to complete the task. For this task, Loki naturally did his part. This is a great opportunity to brush up on skill proficiency, and Loki cannot miss it. Leave it to me. I will stop Ronan and his Accuser Legion from outside the atmosphere. As for the Chitauri army sent by Thanos and the Accuser Legion that slipped through the net, I will leave it to you to deal with it. Quote. After Loki finished speaking, he gave Nick Fury a meaningful look. Fury also looked towards Loki, his eyes full of praise for Loki. This approval was not only because Loki took the initiative to carry out the task of destroying the enemy warships, but more importantly, Loki was very smart and understood Fury's thoughts from the beginning. In fact, with Loki's strength, it would be easy for him to wipe out all the enemies attacking the Earth this time by himself. But Loki said that he would leave the Chitauri army to others to deal with. That's because S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Avengers need 10 opportunities to reflect their own value and show their strength. Loki will not be like the god on Earth, imprisoning mankind in the cradle of comfort, so that mankind loses the opportunity to grow in the face of crisis. Don't worry, leave it to us. As long as they dare to enter the Earth's atmosphere, our S.H.I.E.L.D. agents and Avengers will send every enemy to hell. Fury said very confidently. However, in Loki's heart, he is not very optimistic that S.H.I.E.L.D. and Avengers can defeat the Chitauri army. In his opinion, as long as S.H.I.E.L.D. and Avengers can hold on, they are already extraordinary. Because although Chitauri's individual combat power is not strong, they have enough numbers. Sometimes even if quantitative changes cannot constitute qualitative changes, the trouble it brings is enough to give S.H.I.E.L.D. a headache. What's more, there are also great weapons like the Iron Leviathan in the Chitauri army. Among the entire Avengers, the only ones who have the strength to deal with Leviathan are Thor and the Weirdo Banner. Tony Stark may be able to barely deal with a few, but with his endurance, it will not have much impact on the overall war situation. After it was confirmed that Loki would be the spearhead of the entire combat operation and complete the most important offensive mission, the remaining details were easily settled. But what surprised Loki was that after the meeting, Gamora took the initiative to find him. I have long admired you, the King of Jotunheim, His Majesty Loki Odin. Gamora came to Loki and saluted respectfully. Have you admired the famous name for so long? How come I didn't know that I was so famous in the universe? Loki didn't know what Gamora's purpose was in coming to him, but Loki had no idea about his situation. Hinata is very self-aware. His actions outside the 9 realms, except for the first time when he was inexperienced, were seen by Ege's duplication, and his true appearance was seen. Since then, he has always shown himself in a mask or phantom. Logically speaking, he should not be famous in the universe. Your Majesty Loki, you are so humble. Thousands of years ago, you directly moved a fixed star to the vicinity of Jotunheim. It is still a widely circulated legend in the universe. And your daughter, Her Royal Highness Anna, is also a famous hero in the universe. The accuser Ronan, he and the 4 Obsidian generals under Thanos have all suffered a lot at her hands. Loki shook his head and said with a wry smile, I didn't expect that these little things could spread my reputation beyond the 9 realms. But Anna, this child, seems to have really grown up a lot, but if I could be more low-key, better. Loki had no idea that little Anna, a little girl, would unknowingly gain such a big reputation outside the 9 realms. But Anna would not consider him, the King of Jotunheim, at all, and she didn't know how to hide her identity. If the enemy comes to Jotunheim for revenge, that won't cause trouble for Loki. What you said is too modest. If directly migrating a fixed star can be regarded as a small matter, then in the entire universe, I am afraid there is no news that can be called a big event. Gamora persisted in confusion. Keep up the flattery. Okay, don't put a high hat on me anymore. If you have anything to say, you can say it straight to the point. As long as it is something that can interest me, even if you have any difficulties, let me help. That's not the case. Can't. When Gamora heard this, her breathing began to become rapid. Your Majesty Loki, actually. Your Majesty Loki, the scepter in my hand is actually the Mind Gem, one of the 6 infinite gems. I hope that I can leave it to you for safekeeping. Thanos has been searching for the whereabouts of the infinite gems in the universe, but so far, he has only obtained the Mind Gem, the only infinite gems. Once he collects 6 infinite gems, it will be a terrible disaster for our universe. So I hope to leave this Mind Gem to your Majesty Loki for safekeeping. I believe that with your strength, Thanos will never be able to snatch it back from you. Gamora said, and was about to hand over the scepter with the Mind Gem in it to Loki. 870, however, the infinite gems, which are extremely tempting to others, cannot make any waves in Loki's heart when they come in front of him. After reaching a certain level of strength, infinite gems are nothing more than useless props to Loki. Are you sure you want to leave it to me for safekeeping? Loki asked Gamora instead of taking the scepter handed over to her. I don't quite understand what you mean. The answer to this question is definitely, otherwise I wouldn't have spoken out about it. Gamora looked at Loki in confusion and replied. Loki shook his head and smiled. I'm definitely not doubting your determination, but seriously, I already have 2 infinite gems in my hand. If I accept this one from you, there will be a total of 3 infinite gems gathered in my hands. Although you trust me very much, and I am also very confident in my own strength, you have to think carefully about it. What if I am defeated by Thanos, then he will be able to defeat me in one fell swoop. I got 3 infinite gems in my hand. After hearing what Loki said, Gamora obviously felt conflicted. But Gamora was not the kind of person who looked forward and backward, so she made a decision quickly. Gamora handed the scepter in her hand to Loki again and said, I still want to believe in His Majesty Loki's strength. I grew up next to Thanos since I was a child, so I know very well how powerful he is. But Gamora paused when she said this, then looked at Loki firmly, and then continued, but even Thanos, who is known as the Dark Emperor in the universe, the oppression he brings to me is far greater. Not as powerful as the threat I vaguely feel from you. So I can be sure that you are far more powerful than Thanos. If the Mind Gem in my hand is given to you for safekeeping, plus the 2 infinite gems in your hand, then even if Thanos gets the other 3 infinite gems, at best, are tied with you. In this way, I feel that the gems are safer in your hands. Although I know that there is some flattery in Gamora's words, she is indeed right. Loki is far more powerful than Thanos, at least for now. So Loki nodded with great satisfaction and said, You are quite courageous. In this case, I will accept this scepter. As for the safety of infinite gems, you can rest assured. From today on, Thanos will take over the entire even if the universe is turned upside down. I don't want to see the 3 infinite gems in my hand again. After speaking, Loki directly used the disguise magic to send the scepter in his hand into the Lord's treasure. Except for Loki and Anna, it is impossible for a third person to take the items out of the king's treasure. This is also the reason why Loki is so confident. Even if he killed Thanos, he probably wouldn't have thought that Loki actually had such a thing as a plug-in. At this moment, a familiar voice came from behind Loki. Wow, how did you do that move just now? Was it magic, or was it Asgard's special technology? Hi, this alien beauty, please allow me to sincerely praise you. Your figure is really hot, but I may not be able to accept such a forbidden love. This is not because of your skin color. You don't miss the class meeting. By the way, is there reproductive isolation between us? If not, we have to take safety measures when we are impulsive. If Pepper knew that I had an illegitimate child, she would definitely kill me. Quote. The owner of this voice is none other than Tony Stark, the only late Iron Man among the Avengers. You'd better keep your mouth clean, and then sincerely apologize to me immediately, then I can forgive you generously. Otherwise, I can guarantee that if you appear in front of me today, you will become the most regretful and unbearable memory in this life. Tony's face still maintained his playboy's calm and uninhibited smile, but after Gamora finished speaking, his expression visibly stiffened. Tony, I advise you to do what Gamora says. Otherwise, when Gamora attacks you later, even if I were your uncle, I wouldn't be able to provide you with any help. It seems that the perception has arrived. Tony planned to fight to the end, Luigi also reminded him. Tony's expression suddenly changed when he heard this, and he put on a wry smile. He was not wearing a steel battle suit. At the moment, it seemed that he had no other choice but to compromise. So sincerely, Tony didn't do any more hesitations, and directly showed his craftsmanship and said, I'm very sorry, Miss Gamora, I was rude. After hearing Tony's apology, Gamora didn't say much. He gave Tony a, be careful next time, warning look with a cold face, then politely bid farewell to Loki, turned around and walked away without looking at Tony again. Why did you come so late? You came just after our combat meeting was over. Why didn't you wait until the war was over to clean up the battlefield? After Gamora left, Loki came to Tony and said, Hey, come on, Uncle Loki, aren't you curious about the truth about this war? According to my understanding, the Earth has been exposed to alien civilizations for at least tens of thousands of years. But in so many years, we have never faced such a large-scale invasion by alien civilization. In the middle of Tony's words, Loki suddenly interrupted. Excuse me, in fact, Jotunheim, under the leadership of the previous King Loth, launched an invasion of the Earth more than 1,000 years ago, but it was defeated by Asgard led by my father. The army has returned to home base. Tony said awkwardly after being choked by Loki. Well, I am an inventor, not a historian. It is understandable that I have some mistakes in historical research. What's more, this happened more than 1,000 years ago. Just as Tony finished speaking, Loki continued. More than 30 years ago, in order to hunt down a group of Skrull remnants, the Kree Empire also sent the Accuser fleet outside the Earth, but it was eventually defeated by two people from Asgard and Jotunheim. The princess, my daughter, was beaten away together with one of their friends. Okay, don't worry about these details. What I want to say is that under the protection of Asgard, it should be impossible for the Earth to have a serious invasion like this one. But things happened so unexpectedly. I don't believe that the result of a thing will appear without any reason, so before coming here, I did some research. As a result of the investigation, I saw some very interesting things. I think maybe everyone should take a look at the real reason for this war. So, Tony, you'd better give me a reasonable explanation. Now is a critical period for everyone to prepare for war. So what is so urgent that you have to call us all here now? Nick Fury, who was suddenly interrupted from work, seemed extremely irritable at the moment. Even though Tony was their shield consultant, he didn't speak politely at all. In the conference room, everyone gathered together again and looked at Tony Stark standing in the C position, with a trace of dissatisfaction and doubt in their eyes. Tony seemed very confident about this. He turned on the display device in the conference room, looked at Nick with a condescending look and asked, Yes, I will give a reasonable explanation that satisfies everyone. But, as he spoke, Tony posted the data on his personal terminal to the display device in the conference room, and then said, Before that, Fury, I think you can explain what the so-called second phase of research is. Fury's face changed drastically when he heard this, and his originally dark complexion suddenly turned into a colorful black. This is our SHIELD's secret and has nothing to do with the crisis we are about to face. I don't think there is any need to explain it now. Fury decisively refused, without giving any explanation as to what the second phase was. Is there really no relationship? Tony said meaningfully, the smile on his face getting colder. Since you don't want to say it yourself, let me explain it to everyone. Tony Stark, how dare you? Fury rage shouted, trying to stop Tony's behavior. But at this moment, Captain Steve Rogers and Dr. Bruce Banner stood up at the same time, expressing their interest in the so-called second phase research. Smart choice. Tony praised the two of them and drew everyone's attention to the big screen again. The so-called second phase research is actually to study Tesseract and then use the research results obtained to manufacture weapons. But obviously, judging from the current results, they messed up. Looking at this video. With that said, Tony called up another video on the big screen. This was a surveillance video, and the scene recorded in the video was exactly the scene where Gamora opened the space channel through the Tesseract and appeared in such a secret experimental base. Not only that, this surveillance video also clearly recorded the conversation between Fury and Gamora at that time. When the video ended, Tony spoke again. It's obvious that this is all due to SHIELD's improper handling of the Tesseract, which has led to the difficult situation we are about to face. If we can't make it clear today how Tesseract will deal with it in the future, then I think even if this crisis is successfully resolved by everyone, the same problem will still happen again in the future. What do you think? Among the people in the conference room, Fury, Gamora, Natasha Romanoff, Barton and Loki had known about this matter for a long time. The chairman also learned the truth through his own investigation. Only Steve, Thor and Dr. Banner were kept in the dark by S.H.I.E.L.D. from beginning to end. Therefore, after the truth was revealed, the three of them reacted the most intensely. Among them, Thor was the one who reacted the most. Where did you get the Tesseract? My father Odin transferred the Tesseract from the treasure house of Asgard to your Earth just so that it would not be discovered. But I didn't expect that you would do such a stupid thing and try to touch something that you don't understand at all, and you can't even control it. Fury, do you know that you are announcing to the entire universe that the Earth is ready to face a higher-level war? As soon as Thor finished speaking, Steve continued, Fury, I don't want to wake up after sleeping for 70 years and see that the only change in this world is that nothing has changed. Does S.H.I.E.L.D. want to become the second Hydra by making such a move? If Fury was able to find a way to refute Thor's question just now, then the captain's question really left him speechless. Because from the time Steve woke up until now, Fury has never had the courage to tell him the truth. Not only did Hydra not perish due to the failure of World War II in these years, but it has taken root in S.H.I.E.L.D. and grown stronger. Chapter 131. Guys, please calm down and listen to me. Seeing that the situation in the conference room was starting to get out of control, Nick Fury quickly spoke out to calm everyone's emotions. As Fury shouted, everyone in the conference room became quiet and turned their attention to Fury. I know you are in a hurry now, but don't be anxious yet. At least with regard to the Tesseract, there is no need to be anxious now. The alien invaders that pose the greatest threat to our planet are the first issues we should consider, right? Quote. Fury began to use words, trying to disrupt the thoughts of everyone present through complex logical chains. But apart from Thor, who among the people in this conference room is not extremely smart, Fury's attempt to use the same methods he used to deal with ordinary people to deal with these superheroes was obviously a miscalculation. We are definitely very aware of the crisis facing the Earth, but we understand even more that if the Tesseract matter is not resolved, then the same thing will only happen again and again. None of us want to have to perform heroic acts from time to time in the future. The drama of saving the world. Even Tony, who is a performer, is not willing to do such heroic things, let alone other people. As soon as Tony finished speaking, Steve, the captain of the United States, also stood up and continued, yes, we must first settle down the enemy. Before facing a more powerful enemy, I think it is necessary for us to deal with our situation first. Internal contradictions. Although Tony and Steve are not the most powerful among the Avengers, their identities, personalities and abilities destined them to be the natural leaders of the Avengers. Now that both of them have stood up, if Fury doesn't give a definite reply, then when the alien army comes to the border, the situation they will face will be very passive. Just when Fury was about to speak, Agent Hill broke in from the outside and said to everyone, I'm sorry to interrupt you, but the war is about to begin. Our military satellites have captured the aliens that suddenly appeared outside the atmosphere. Starship. Quote. Upon hearing this, everyone present looked at each other and quickly reached a tacit understanding. Steve immediately said, the enemy is at present. It seems that we have no time to resolve internal conflicts. Avengers, it is our turn now. Loki, I'll leave the leading role to you, is that okay? It's definitely no problem. It's better to say this is just what I want. After Loki finished speaking, the portal in his hand was also completed at the same time. The next moment, Loki took a step forward, and he had already arrived from the space carrier into outer space. Loki, who has the bloodline of the giants of Jotunheim, can survive direct exposure to outer space for a period of time and function normally even without any protective equipment. When Loki saw the Accuser army and the Chidori army constantly appearing in front of him through space jump points, to be honest, he missed the king's treasure that he had stripped away. After all, in a situation like this, no weapon is more suitable than his magically modified water droplets. However, for the skill proficiency of Eye of Direct Death, even if he worked a little harder, Loki still had to complete the task he took on one by one. Today I'm going to let you alien have a good look at what a green flash is. Loki thought to himself as a flying dart made of frozen air flew out of his hand. With the power bonus brought by the strength of Loki-level Godfather, the flying darts arrived in front of a battleship of the Accuser Legion in an instant. Whoosh! As expected, Loki, dressed in green, began to shuttle through space like a flash of light. The moment Loki held the flying darts, the Death Eye had been opened, and the huge Kree battleships in his field of vision were densely packed with dead lines. Phew, Loki didn't have any difficulty in choosing. He just randomly selected one of the many dead lines, and then gently drew the skate along the direction of the dead line in his hand. After swiping the knife, Loki did not look at the result. He threw the ice knife in his hand towards another battleship not far away, and then repeated what happened just now. In just a few seconds, the Accuser Legion lost dozens of warships without any reaction, and all of them were cut in half from strange positions. Only 1 second had passed until Loki slashed all the Accuser Legion warships that could be seen in his field of vision. It was only then that the space battleships, killed by Loki, finally reacted, and began to explode one after another in the order of Loki's attack. This scene is like setting off fireworks to congratulate Loki on his achievements in the battle. Huge amounts of fireballs form a thread of firelight against the background of the universe. However, in the face of Loki's crushing killings, Ronan seemed to have no intention of letting his Accuser Legion make a strategic retreat. This battle was different from the previous pursuit of the Skrulls. Ronan was willing to take the initiative to evacuate that time. On the one hand, Elsa and the others were powerful, but on the other hand, there were Skrulls who were not worth the Kree's suffering, greater losses. But today's war will determine the ownership of a planet and the survival of a civilization. What's more, Ronan knows very well that if he wants to become an ally of Thanos, he must bear the corresponding price. So even though Loki caused huge amounts of losses to them, these were acceptable in Ronan's eyes. Before the space jump point, new Kree battleships constantly appear, and Loki is also happy to kill them to quickly increase the skill proficiency of the Eye of Death. In just 10 minutes, Loki has increased his skill proficiency to 40%. While Loki was blocking the Accuser Legion on his own, Sharath, who had escaped from the Accuser Legion, and the Zeta Swiss army sent by Thanos also began a war with S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Avengers. Compared with the huge advantages in the outer space battlefield, the Earth's side is relatively passive in the ground battlefield. Although the Accuser was killed and the invasion of the Thanos alliance was due to Gamora's betrayal, the World Security Council was prepared in advance and united the forces of all countries in the world to deploy defenses. But in the face of huge amounts of weapons disparity, serious casualties still occurred on the Earth's side. Not only that, because the location of the space jump point happened to be over North America, the Chidori army that rushed into the Earth caused huge amounts of damage to urban facilities in the United States and surrounding countries in a very short period of time. Faced with such a situation, it is impossible for the Avengers to run exhausted in order to preserve these urban facilities. Under the selfish motives of the World Security Council, all the Avengers were concentrated in New York. Compared to heroes protecting the world, they are more like security guards protecting New York at this moment. Thor, Dr. Banner, you two are the most powerful among us. I need your powerful output now. On the communication channel, the tired voice of instructions from Steve Rogers, the captain of the United States, came. As soon as Steve finished speaking, Tony also spoke on the channel. Are you still lazy? Thor, Dr. Banner, wake up quickly. Come to Parker Street and I will lure the enemy there. In the steel jungle composed of skyscrapers, Tony, wearing a steel battle suit, seemed to have returned to his home court, moving between buildings, constantly luring the enemy to follow him. The most eye-catching skyscraper in the entire New York City is definitely the Stark building named after Tony. At the moment, on the roof of the Stark building, Thor and Dr. Banner, who were called by Steve and Tony one after another, were gathered here. Dr. Banner, it's time for you to transform. Thor also looked at Bruce Banner at the moment. I saw Banner helplessly taking out a wooden mask from the backpack behind him, and said with a wry smile, "Okay, I also know it's time. It's just that after each transformation, after the suppressed part of the heart is released, he quits. It's still hard for me to adapt to the feeling of transformation." Even so, Banner put on the wooden mask that sealed the power of Hulk and Loki's magic without hesitation. After a whirlwind, the disguised geek wearing a large yellow suit and a green bald head appeared again in the world. And Dr. Banner's transformation has indeed verified that law again. After becoming bald, you will really become stronger. Thor, the task of drawing lightning from this big lightning rod will be left to you. I'll take the first step. Dr. Banner, who had completed his transformation, reached out and dug into his suit pocket. The suit pocket actually looked like a fourth-dimensional pocket. Banner directly took out a rocket backpack. As Dr. Banner carried the rocket backpack behind his back, the jet device underneath seemed to sense it and immediately sprayed out 2 scorching flames. Then Dr. Banner was heard yelling, "I'm going to go. Oops, my butt is so hot." This figure full of humor disappeared from Thor's sight and flew to Parker Street not far away. After Dr. Banner went to support Tony, it was Thor's turn to show off his power. Thor raised Mjolnir in his hand high, and in the blink of an eye, huge amounts of dark clouds appeared in the originally cloudless sky over New York. And as Thor cast spells on the roof of the Stark building, dark clouds are still gathering, and the coverage area becomes wider and wider. In the dark clouds, the flashing electric lights were like silver thunder dragons, rolling in the rough sea of clouds. Suddenly a thunder exploded, and Thor stood on the commanding heights holding the hammer in his hand, pulling the thunder falling from the sky. Boom. Thor has settled the matter, and wherever Mjolnir sweeps, there will be lightning flashes. In the blink of an eye, Thor wiped out more than a fleet of Chitauri soldiers and dozens of Iron Leviathan. On the other side, Tony, who took the initiative to take risks, has attracted a lot of pursuers behind him, including several Leviathan beasts. As Tony turned a corner again, he hurriedly called to the communication channel, "Hey, which one of you is going to help me decide? I won't be able to hold on until someone comes. You want me to be the #1 Avengers. A superhero who died heroically. As the saying goes, Sao 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 arrives." As soon as Tony finished speaking, Dr. Banner, a weirdo in disguise carrying a rocket backpack, appeared in his sight. At the same time, Dr. Banner's mean voice also sounded in the communication channel. "You can get out of the way, Mr. Nutcracker. Leave the rest to my great hero to finish them off." Quote, "What are you going to do?" Tony had never seen Dr. Banner's fighting style after transforming into a weirdo. Seeing that the opponent had no weapons prepared, he suddenly asked with some worry. He, you've got the point right. Look at me," Dr. Banner said as he started to spin crazily in the air. After another whirlwind, Dr. Banner's appearance has changed. At the moment, he changed from the large yellow suit he was wearing to a blue tights. There is a yellow inverted triangle on the chest of the tights, and a pattern similar to the English letter S is printed in the middle of the inverted triangle. But the funniest part is the red briefs he wears on his lower body and the red cape behind his back that wraps around Dr. Banner's head due to the crazy spin. "Hey, are you here to be funny? Stop playing around, I've brought you the prey." Although Tony couldn't help laughing when he saw this, he still suppressed his laughter and reminded him. Dr. Banner also hurriedly pulled away the cloak wrapped around his head, revealing his green face with a wig. "Don't worry, watch me freeze them all into popsicles in one breath." Freeze breath. Breathe. Banner took a deep breath, and his entire chest began to expand like a balloon. When he had inhaled to the limit in one breath, he exhaled again with all his strength. However, the classic scene in the Superman comics did not appear as promised. Dr. Banner's performance, which was too long, actually released a blank bomb. "Hey, Banner, I don't think you're cool at all," Tony shouted angrily on the communication channel. "Sorry, you can't change me, do you understand?" What Tony got was Banner's very cool response. "It's just that I used the wrong move. Don't worry, they can't run away. This time it's really my special move. Look at me, I'm eating garlic on this stage." In an instant, a green gas with a strong garlic smell was exhaled from Dr. Banner's mouth, surrounding all the enemies attracted by Tony. "Bruce Banner, I'm Gon Linliang, I haven't run away yet. Ah, hey, it seems that in addition to the urine recovery system, the subsequent battle suit upgrade will also need an air circulation system. Ah, I can't stand the smell of garlic. Logically speaking, as biochemical warriors, Chitauri soldiers and Leviathan beasts, as long as their nerve centers are still controlled by the battleship command center, no matter how foul the environment is, it is impossible for them to be shaken, let alone fight. Reality hurts. But don't forget that after Dr. Banner transforms into a weirdo, he is a funny character who doesn't make sense at all and doesn't even understand physics. How powerful a funny character can be is completely impossible to estimate based on common sense. Therefore, although Dr. Banner's garlic gas attack only caused a certain amount of mental damage to the friendly Tony Stark, it caused full magical damage to the Chitauri soldiers and Leviathan beasts. The enemies directly wrapped in this green gas were corroded and melted into a puddle of liquid in just a few seconds, dripping onto the streets of Parker Street. Oh my God. Banner, why didn't you tell me earlier that your move is so powerful? Do you want to melt me with them? Tony, who saw all this happening with his own eyes, quickly increased the flight speed of the battle suit to the maximum power and left the encirclement of this garlic gas as quickly as possible. Facing Tony's horrified question, Dr. Banner just waved his hand casually and said, "Sorry, I didn't wear my headphones properly just now, so I couldn't hear clearly." Tony became even more angry when he heard this. "Banner, I think your attitude is not cool at all." However, what happened was that Dr. Banner changed his clothes in a whirlwind. He put on a set of clothes that looked like he was going to the countryside with home appliances. He hunched his back and raised his head and said to Tony, "Can you care? I have to keep my attitude. You can change it. Don't leave me, do you understand? Bruce Banner, you'd better understand that as an advisor to S.H.I.E.L.D. and the vice captain of the Avengers, my job is to take care of heroes like you. You're awesome, I'll give you a big thumbs up. Don't worry, I've already said that this stage is too fussy. Even if you stay in there for a while, you won't die. At most, you'll be disgusted for a little longer." Hearing the quarrel between Tony and Dr. Banner on the communication channel, Natasha Romanoff, who had snatched Chitauri's flying motorcycle, rushed to where the two were and spoke out to persuade them. "You all calm down, if even we ourselves if there is no unity, then this war does not need to continue, we can just surrender. I'm too lazy to argue with him, it's just that this guy is so annoying." Tony argued arrogantly. "Dr. Banner is like this after his transformation. Tony, please be more tolerant and bear with him a little," Natasha Romanoff explained to Tony. The conflict between Tony and Dr. Banner was temporarily put on hold due to the mediation of Natasha Romanoff. However, the situation on the battlefield did not improve. There is no way to continue like this. Their combat power is simply endless. If we kill one Chitauri, 2 more will pop up the next second. We can't kill them all. Barton, who had never spoken on the communication channel, finally spoke at this time. Just after Barton killed 2 birds with 1 stone, by blasting through 2 Chitauri soldiers, the quiver behind him was now empty. If the current situation continues, no amount of quiver supplies will be enough for him. What's more, although their fighting power far exceeds that of ordinary people, they are not biochemically modified like the Chitauri army. They will also be in pain and tired. It is impossible to maintain the best fighting position all the time. In other words, the longer the war lasts, the more disadvantageous it will be for them. So would S.H.I.E.L.D. director Nick Fury, who has been watching this war from the space carrier, not know this? He must have thought about it a long time ago, so when the Avengers started to complain about it, he was well prepared. Fury didn't show the slightest surprise. "Director, our goal has been achieved, and it's time to end all this. If we continue like this, the losses will be too great, and the funds granted to us by the World Security Council next year will be cut." Agent Hill, who was standing next to Fury and had also been paying attention to the battle, said, "Do you think this lesson is enough for the old guys on the World Security Council to compromise?" Fury asked without turning his head to look at Agent Hill, just staring at the screen in front of him. Hill rolled his eyes and responded, "I don't know if they will compromise. I only know that if you don't end this war, those old guys will launch a nuclear bomb on New York." When Fury heard what Hill said, the expression on his face also changed. After a while, he continued, "You were right, it is time to end this war. If it continues, those people will jump over the wall. Hill, inform Gamora that she can tell the Avengers the news. Although the leak of the Tesseract and Project Pegasus caught Nick Fury by surprise, he had already combined all the intelligence and made the most detailed plan to deal with this war. First, he used this to threaten the World Security Council, allowing those members to pass their own Avengers plan that had been stuck for more than 10 years. Then with the cooperation of Loki, the Chitauri army put on the Earth was actually part of Fury's plan. Only by making this matter bigger can Fury take the opportunity to improve SHIELD's status in the eyes of the World Security Council and gain greater power. With enough strength, Fury can confidently and boldly carry out a thorough cleaning of Hydra undercover agents in S.H.I.E.L.D. and among high-level government officials. After those big shots finally realize the potential threat that alien civilization poses to the security of the Earth and the continuation of mankind, Fury's purpose was basically achieved. In the end, it is only necessary to inform the Avengers of the key information to end this war, making them the most eye-catching key presence in this incident. So as the driving forces behind the Avengers, S.H.I.E.L.D. and Nick Fury naturally became the big winners and the biggest beneficiaries in this incident. So soon, Gamora's voice appeared in the Avengers communication channel. Guys, I have found Chitauri's weakness. The Chitauri soldiers and Leviathan beasts have completely lost their sense of autonomy after biochemical transformation, and are all commanded and controlled by the core center. As long as we can find the battleship where the core of the Chitauri army is located and blast it, all Chitauri soldiers and Leviathan beasts will immediately lose their ability to move. Gamora, according to the plan agreed with Nick Fury in advance, revealed the weaknesses of the Chitauri army to the Avengers without leaving any trace. After hearing the news, all these superheroes could be heard in the communication channel breathing a sigh of relief. If they really kill one after another like this, I really don't know how long it will take to end this war. Captain Steve also immediately commanded in the communication channel, Tony, the task of finding their core center is left to you. Got it, Tony agreed directly. I am the smartest person in this team, so who else would do this task than me? Jarvis. I'm here, what are your orders, sir? Search for all nearby signal sources and lock the link location. As the saying goes, 000, if you work hard in the wrong direction, the harder you work, the more unfortunate you will be. But once you find the direction of your efforts, no matter how difficult the problem is, it can be finally solved. After knowing the weaknesses of the Chitauri army, it will be easy for the Avengers to deal with them. With the help of the artificial intelligence Jarvis, Toto quickly found the space battleship where the Chitauri core center was located. Thor, the remaining energy of my battle suit is no longer enough to cause a devastating blow to such huge amounts of battleships. I will fly ahead to lead the way later, and it is up to you to complete the final blow. Okay, I promise, my Mjolnir and I will make this war final. Thor replied confidently after receiving the message. Then let's set off now, Thor, follow closely. After saying that, Tony mobilized the last bit of energy left in the arc reactor and soared into the sky towards the Chitauri battleships above New York. Thor stood on the roof of the Stark building and immediately caught Tony's figure. He waved his hand and Mjolnir immediately took off and followed him. However, just as the two of them launched their final attack, Nick Fury brought them bad news. Guys, I just received bad news here. The old guys from the World Security Council sent a little fat man to New York just half a minute ago. What's the little fat guy? Could it be what I thought it was? Natasha Romanoff's sixth sense as a woman immediately realized that the bad news might not be as understatement as Fury described it. If you are like me, then I think this matter is exactly what you guessed. From Fury's voice, it was obvious that his tone was very bitter. Hey, Fury, Natasha Romanoff, what are you talking about? Can you please stop doing charades? The Riddler gets out of Gotham. The United States Captain Steve, who was unclear about his post-ice history, apparently didn't understand the encrypted call between Natasha Romanoff and Fury. But as a native of the United States agent, Barton already knows what this little fat guy is. He explained to Steve in the communication channel, Captain, you should still remember the fat man and little boy that Phil Coulson told you before, right? The two mushrooms that brought an end to World War II. This little fat man should be the combination of fat man and little boy. Those fool on the Security Council want to wipe the entire New York off the map. After hearing Barton's explanation, even the captain, who had always been very calm, couldn't help but say a curse word. We can obviously win soon, why is it at this time? How long will it take before the nuclear bomb detonates? If it's too late, I can let DeVos control the steel battle suit on me and send it into space to detonate. Tony, who also heard the bad news, said on the communication channel. Fury. It's too late, Tony. The nuclear bomb is only 1 minute away from you. Even if you turn back now, you won't have time to send it into space. After learning from Fury that the nuclear bomb was only 1 minute away from them, Hawkeye Clint Barton stood on a tall building and looked into the distance. With his far more powerful vision than ordinary people, he could already see a black dot on the distant sea heading towards New York at high speed. At the moment, Tony and Thor are heading to the battleship of the Chitauri army to complete the task of destroying the core center. The only Avengers members on the ground are him, Captain, Natasha Romanoff and Dr. Banner. Although Barton doesn't know whether Dr. Banner can prevent the nuclear bomb from exploding in New York City, he knows very well that among the four, only Dr. Banner is the most powerful. If even Dr. Banner can't prevent this from happening, then they will have no choice but to be listed in the obituary list of tomorrow's newspaper together with the people in the city who failed to escape. Banner. Just as Barton was about to speak, Dr. Banner's voice came from the communication channel. No need to say more. Don't worry, I can easily deal with just a nuclear bomb. Thinking about the energy intensity of gamma-ray radiation I received at the beginning, this, little fat man, is much more powerful. Hearing this news, not only the Avengers in New York City, but also Fury and Hill in the Pacific were extremely surprised that things had really turned around. Dr. Banner, what are you going to do? Do you need our help? The nuclear bomb, little fatty, had little time left for them, so the captain asked quickly. Hearing this, Banner muttered, well, there is indeed something very important that I need your help with. Barton asked eagerly, what on earth is going on? Dr. Banner, tell me quickly, the nuclear bomb is already coming. Barton, who had excellent eyesight, saw that the nuclear bomb was already less than 10 kilometers away from them. At the speed of the nuclear bomb flight, it would only take the blink of an eye to cover this distance. This matter is very important. Please go to the nearest drugstore immediately and buy 2 boxes of Jianwei Shaoxi tablets. Remember to buy the Heizong brand. I can't get used to the taste of other brands. When Dr. Banner finished his instructions, the nuclear bomb had already arrived over New York and was about to fall. But in the next second, Dr. Banner's thin figure stood between the nuclear bomb and the New York citizens below. At this moment, in the eyes of everyone who witnessed this scene, Dr. Banner's figure looked even taller than when he transformed into Hulk, mighty. Then under everyone's shocked eyes, Dr. Banner did something incredible. He actually opened his mouth wide and swallowed the bill directly into his stomach. Boom, Gu, 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 poof. As a muffled sound came from Dr. Banner's stomach, the explosion of the nuclear bomb appeared as scheduled. However, because of Dr. Banner's seemingly suicidal act of swallowing a nuclear bomb alive, the explosion of Little Fat Man was not able to cause any damage in the Big Apple. Definitely Dr. Banner's original discomfort was not that good. Not to mention that his stomach was stretched dozens or hundreds of times at the moment of the explosion. After all, after putting on the wooden mask blessed by Loki's magic, Dr. Banner's body has become different from ordinary people, and he cannot walk around normally. What made Dr. Banner feel the most uncomfortable was the gas with terrifying radiation produced after the explosion, which kept rushing around in his digestive system. Although he was originally able to ignore the damage caused by these radiations, the ordinary citizens of New York City couldn't bear it. So even though Dr. Banner was very uncomfortable, he still couldn't release the gas through any outlet in his upper or lower body. Otherwise, for the citizens of New York, it is not as simple as enduring some unpleasant smells. This dose of radiation can kill people in minutes. Fortunately, the disguised geek's physical recovery ability was strong, and after his stomach rumbled for a while, he gradually returned to normal. No, as soon as the symptoms of stomach discomfort began to subside, Dr. Banner began to act erratic again. I saw him swept by a whirlwind, and his clothes were changed into a monster leather suit. Anyone who has watched monster movies should be able to recognize the well-known character IP of Dr. Banner cuz at a glance. It is an ancient giant monster that evolved due to the mutation of nuclear radiation. Godzilla. However, Dr. Banner's hard-working performance at the moment is destined to be unnoticed by anyone. Because almost at the same time that he solved the nuclear explosion crisis created by the World Security Council, a violent explosion occurred on a Chidori warship in the sky. The flames and dazzling light produced by the explosion looked like a second sun appearing in the sky from the ground. As the Chidori warship was blasted, the Chidori soldiers and Leviathan beasts that were still causing destruction and killing in the city were turned into soulless bodies, completely out of control. Falling from the sky to the ground. "We succeeded," Tony's excited voice sounded over the communication channel. Immediately afterwards, the cheers of other Avengers members also came one after another through the communication channel, conveying the excitement and joy between them. At the same time, in the cosmic battlefield on the other side, Loki's killing operation has been going on for almost an hour. Because too many Kree and Accuser Legion battleships were killed, the skill proficiency of Eye of Death has skyrocketed to 75%. It's a pity that no matter how many ants there are, they are still just ants. Perhaps it is because the cannon fodder sent out to die in the Accuser Legion is so weak that no matter how Loki uses his skills later, his skill proficiency will not show up. Increase. With the defeat of the Chidori army at the hands of the Avengers, the Accuser Corps of the Kree Empire finally retreated, and no new Kree warships appeared in the space jump points outside the Earth's atmosphere. In this way, a war involving 2 countries and 3 parties ended with the victory of the Earth side and the defeat of Ronan the Accuser and Thanos of the Dark Order. However, although the war is over, the problems between S.H.I.E.L.D. and the Avengers have not yet been resolved. And because the invasion of the Chidori army caused huge losses to various countries in North America, Nick Fury and his S.H.I.E.L.D. also need to continue to follow up on the follow-up work. The Avengers, who had finished their combat missions, returned to the space carrier in their own ways. Although after a big battle, they were very exhausted both physically and mentally, not to mention that Barton and Natasha Romanoff still had some minor injuries. But even so, they still gathered in the conference room as soon as they returned to the space carrier to discuss the follow-up issues of Tesseract in the shortest possible time and come up with a solution that would satisfy both S.H.I.E.L.D. and Avengers. Regarding this matter, Loki originally didn't want to get involved. After all, it had nothing to do with him. Loki would rather have all kinds of troubles happening one after another, so that he, the fun-loving guy, would have a chance to have fun. But Thor didn't know where his brain was twitching again, and he insisted on dragging him into the conference room to observe. It is said that he has a better mind, maybe he can provide some useful suggestions. Loki was quite speechless about this. He definitely had useful suggestions. Just hand the Tesseract to him and keep it in the King's treasure. That is definitely the safest plan. But can old coin Nick Fury agree? Impossible, absolutely impossible. Nick Fury and all the Avengers originally had this opposition in their views on the issue. To discuss a solution that is acceptable to both parties, it cannot be solved in a few words. According to Nick Fury, the endless energy in the Tesseract and its potential for weapon development represent the future of the Earth. If they had cutting-edge weapons like the Chidori army or the Accuser Legion in this war, then why would Fury bother to do so many things and make so many plans? But for the Avengers, their original existence is a warning and deterrence on behalf of the Earth to extraterrestrial civilizations. Developing Tesseract for military purposes will not only fail to protect the Earth's own security, but will instead cause more uncontrollable chaos and even lead to bigger enemies. Therefore, the Avengers are opposed to continuing developmental research on the Tesseract, or even allowing the Tesseract to remain in S.H.I.E.L.D. The development of the matter was just as Loki expected. After several hours of discussion and quarrel, neither Nick Fury nor the Avengers could convince the other, and the matter reached a deadlock. The dull atmosphere in the conference room was really suffocating. Loki, who had no interest in this matter, didn't care what the others were discussing. Loki, who was really bored, glanced around the conference room and finally found someone who had the same idea as him. Loki stood up from his seat quietly, moved to Gamora's side, and started chatting with her. "It's boring." Seeing that it was Loki talking to her, Gamora didn't dare to be careless and nodded respectfully and replied, "A little bit indeed. This is true for any civilization. After it develops to a certain level, various contradictions will be exposed. No matter how glorious it looks on the surface, there are always many problems hidden secretly. Although it seems like they are arguing about Tesseract now, in fact they are more like a confrontation between conservatives and radicals. Loki didn't care whether Gamora understood what he was talking about, but Gamora was the only one who could chat with him now, and Loki could only talk and spend time with her. By the way, things on Earth are over now. Have you ever thought about how you should live after betraying Thanos? Should you stay on Earth and become a member of S.H.I.E.L.D. or the Avengers? Or wander in the universe and become a free bounty hunter? Loki suddenly changed the topic and asked Gamora about her future plans. What about life after that? Upon hearing Loki's question, Gamora didn't know how to answer it. In other words, from the moment she decided to betray Thanos, Gamora stopped thinking about her future. But now the Chitauri army sent to Earth by Thanos has been completely wiped out, and the mind gem that was given to her was also handed over to Loki's hands and properly placed. Gamora suddenly found that she could really start to think about how to plan her future life. After thinking carefully for a while, she continued, "When things on Earth are completely dealt with, I probably won't stay here anymore. After all, I am a traitor to the Dark Order. If I stay on Earth, I might cause a lot of trouble here. And only in the universe can I exert greater value. Thanos doesn't know that the mind gem has been handed over to Your Majesty Loki by me. As long as I keep wandering in the universe, I can continue to attract Thanos' attention and distract the Dark Order's power." "You will always be in danger if you do this," Loki reminded her. Gamora shook her head and said calmly, "From the day my home planet was massacred by Thanos, I have put my own life and death aside. And I don't ask to be able to kill Thanos with my own hands and avenge my own people. I will spend my whole life, as long as I can prevent Thanos from getting all 6 infinite gems, then I will have no regrets. But I will not give up my life easily. After all, I have lived in the Dark Order for so many years. It is not easy for Thanos and his men to catch me." Loki can understand Gamora. After all, everyone has their own choices. Gamora just chose a lifestyle that she agrees with. So after hearing Gamora's determination, Loki did not persuade her to change her mind, but said to her, "In that case, you might as well join the adventure team composed of my daughter Anna and her friend Carol. The two of them are pretty good. They wander around the universe every day, and occasionally do some heroic things. If you are willing to join their journey and take risks with them, then I can send you to join them." Gamora was a little surprised when she heard Loki's suggestion, because she had heard of Anna and Carol's names Gamora. Because since the two of them debuted as superheroes in the universe as a combination, they have caused a lot of trouble for the Kree Empire. Wherever they go, civilizations enslaved by the Kree Empire will be liberated. The Kree soldiers who stayed behind would be beaten up by the two men and then sent back to the home planet of the Kree Empire. So Gamora heard about Anna and Carol's deeds from Ronan, the accuser. But Carol really doesn't know that this famous Anna is actually Loki's daughter. If she knew that Anna and Carol were two of the 3 powerful men who forced back the accuser army more than 30 years ago, then Gamora would probably be even more surprised. After all, such strength cannot be described by Loki's words, it's still pretty good. In Gamora's limited knowledge, the only ones in the entire Dark Order who can do this kind of thing are probably Thanos and the 4 Obsidian generals. If she can really successfully join Anna and Carol's small adventure group, then there will be no need to worry about Thanos and the Dark Order's pursuit in the days to come. To be honest, I am indeed very moved by Your Majesty Loki's proposal, but I am worried, if I join, will it bring unnecessary trouble to them? Gamora said with great hesitation. "You don't have to worry anymore. The trouble caused by these 2 little guys is much more serious than your little thing. If you are worried, you should worry about yourself, so as not to be implicated by them. And Anna inherited my good space magic ability and learned a lot of space magic from me. Even if you were really unlucky and run into big trouble one day, you can still use space magic to escape quickly, and your life will still be safe. Very secure." After hearing what Loki said, Gamora did not refuse the other party's kindness. She knew very well that Loki's purpose in making this suggestion was to provide her with some protection, and Anna and Carol were her protective umbrellas. Gamora believed that with Loki's backing, Anna and Carol would not be in any danger even if they took her as a burden, so after some thought, they agreed to take off the skin. On the other side, while Loki and Gamora were chatting, the discussion between Fury and the Avengers finally came to an end. Nick Fury finally lost the dispute and agreed to stop the research and development project on the Tesseract, and handed the Tesseract back to Thor for safekeeping in Asgard. However, Nick Fury is not the kind of person who suffers losses. Although the Tesseract was handed over, the Avengers must also pay some price as a bargaining chip in exchange. The first is Tony Stark and Bruce Banner, two super geniuses. As representatives of the IQ ceiling in the Marvel Universe, the two need to help Nick Fury solve the technical problems that S.H.I.E.L.D. cannot solve on its own in the next 3 years. Secondly, Stark Industries under Tony's name needs to help S.H.I.E.L.D. complete the construction of 2 space carriers in the future, and replace these 3 space carriers, including the one currently in service, with arc reactors as the energy core. Definitely, this alone is not enough for Nick Fury to agree to give up Tesseract. For Nick Fury, the most important thing is to maintain the Earth's ability to deter alien civilization, so after the Tesseract is taken away, Thor needs to ensure that whenever the Earth encounters an unsolvable crisis and he needs help, Thor cannot reject. In fact, even if Fury didn't mention this last one, Thor would definitely do it. Thor's character is originally loyal to his friends, not to mention that he has lived on Earth for more than 10 years, and now he has met his true love Jane Foster on Earth. So let alone the Earth encountering an unsolvable crisis, I am afraid that some minor disasters may occur. As long as Thor thinks it threatens the safety of his little girlfriend, S.H.I.E.L.D. does not need to speak, Thor will take the initiative to solve the problem. After the Tesseract problem is solved, this time the invasion of alien civilization is basically over. Loki should still stay on Earth in the game world for the next period of time. So before he left, he and all the members of the Vengeful Alliance left contact groups with each other. After all, with the status of these people, they will definitely encounter a lot of trouble in the future. If they need Loki's help then, wouldn't it be fun? After exchanging contact information, Natasha Romanoff and Barton were members of S.H.I.E.L.D. before joining the Avengers, so there was no need to leave. Tony and Dr. Banner also temporarily stayed on the space carrier because they had to fulfill their promise to help S.H.I.E.L.D. solve their technical problems. The Captain of the United States, Steve Rogers, accompanied by his little fan Phil Coulson, left the space carrier in a Quinjet. Steve, who has just woken up from the ice, still has a lot to learn in this new era. As for Thor, this guy is even more outrageous. He was the one who clearly agreed to return the Tesseract to Odin's treasury for safekeeping. But because he was worried that he would not be able to return to Earth to stay with Jane Foster after he returned, he simply threw the Tesseract to Loki and ran away with the hammer. Loki didn't bother to make another trip to Asgard. Anyway, he didn't have to worry about the debt due to infinite gems. It was safer to put them in his king's treasure. Loki just threw them into the king's treasure together with the other 3 infinite gems. It ate ashes. Thor's matter has been deceived, but there is still one thing waiting for Loki to do, which is to send Gamora to Anna and Carol to join them. Loki did not mess around with this matter. It happened that he could also meet his daughter. By the way, he told the other party that the 4 infinite gems in the king's treasure must not be touched rashly, let alone let others know that the 4 infinite gems are there. On her body. Definitely, if you encounter any unavoidable situation, it is not impossible to use infinite gems to rescue you, AHDD. With Anna's current strength, if she holds the power of an infinite gems, I believe that most powerful people in the universe will not be able to pose a threat to Anna. In order to prevent his sudden appearance from scaring the two of them, Loki first notified them through the flying Thor mark left on Anna's side, and then teleported to the place where Anna and Carol were with Gamora. But what neither Loki nor Gamora expected was that their teleport would end in a prison. "Daughter, what did you and Carol do? Why are you still locked up?" Although entering the prison all of a sudden made Loki, who had never been to such a place in his life, a little confused, but with Loki's character, he wouldn't make a fuss. And since he can teleport here by flying Thor, it proves that this place does not have any means of blocking space. In addition, seeing that Anna and Carol were both in normal condition, Loki became curious about how they ended up in prison. Gamora on the side also pricked up her ears, wanting to hear what kind of bizarre experiences these two people would tell. The 2 women who heard Loki's question first looked at each other, and then made a wry smile. As Loki's daughter, Anna naturally answered this question on behalf of the two of them. Oh. It wasn't Carol and I who committed the crime, but the bad friend we both knew committed the crime. Oh, tell me in detail, I like to listen to stories the most. Loki immediately became interested when he heard this. His daughter finally made a new friend, so he had to find out about it quickly. If it's a girl, then help the other party improve their strength, and don't let the other party drag your daughter back. If it's difficult, then you still have to help the other party improve her strength, but this time there is a prerequisite: desire to practice this skill. You must first retreat from the palace. Loki couldn't bear to let his daughter's good cabbage be spoiled by those pigs, leprous toads, cow dung and the like. To prevent this from happening, we can definitely only solve the problem from the root. But after listening to Anna's story, Loki was completely relieved. Because of the three new friends Anna and Carol met, one was a plant and the other was an animal. Although the last one is a human being and a man, he is an out-and-out idiot. Not to mention plants and animals, Loki knew his daughter, and Anna didn't have that kind of perverted habit. As for that man, with his IQ, Anna would never be attracted to him. Because this man's name is Peter Jason Quill, and he also has a nickname that he considers famous in the universe, Star-Lord. After listening to Anna's story, Loki and Gamora also roughly understood how they met the other three companions. Star-Lord was originally a boy from Earth, but he was kidnapped by a group of predators in the universe when he was a child, and has since become one of them. Star-Lord, who grew up in this kind of environment, naturally couldn't learn anything good. It can even be said that Star-Lord relied on self-taught secrets and deception to grow up among this group of murderous predators. Since he came of age, Star-Lord has been trying every means to find various opportunities to break away from the predator group. His hard work paid off, and after he hid his true thoughts and waited patiently, he finally got such an opportunity. Yondu, the leader of the Marauder group and the captain of the battleship, received a bounty mission from an intermediary with a considerable reward. The mission is for them to secretly go to a planet called Sigler under the jurisdiction of the Nova Empire, find a scientist named Perkar, seize the manufacturing information of a mysterious weapon from him, and bring it with him, come back and hand it over to the middleman. Star Sigler is not an ordinary planet. Its surface temperature can reach up to 100 degrees Celsius, and its core is extremely unstable. Earthquakes and volcanic eruptions may occur at any time. It is not an easy task to complete this task. So Yondu decided to discuss with the team members first before deciding whether to take on this task. But Yondu was just going through the motions. Because he knows very well that compared with the bounty that can be obtained after completing the mission, the risks that may be encountered during the mission will not be taken seriously by the predators at all. Star-Lord, who secretly overheard the contents of the mission, decided to secretly drive away from the Milan spaceship on the battleship, and take away the mission target before Yondu's team of predators took action, and then sold it on the black market. Price. In this way, Yondu and others who have failed in their mission will definitely be criticized by their employer, and they will have no energy to cause trouble for themselves. At the same time, with the money exchanged in the black market, Star-Lord can also live happily in the universe. The life you want. But when things develop to this point, if nothing unexpected happens, something will definitely happen. Although Star-Lord went through all kinds of difficulties and dangers, he found Dr. Perkar and stole the weapon information in his hand. But because of this incident, he also provoked two major forces, the Star Troopers of the Kree Empire and the Nova Troopers of the Nova Empire. Anna and Carol, who have always been paying attention to the Kree Empire, also gained insight into the plans of Star Team and the Kree Empire because of the sudden appearance of Star-Lord Cheng Yaojin. It turned out that the research data in Perkar's hand contained a terrifying weapon called the Axiom Cannon. The planet hit by the Axiom Cannon will gradually melt and corrupt, and eventually completely disintegrate, becoming part of countless cosmic dust. Once the Kree Empire obtains this weapon, the original balance between the major forces in the universe that restrains each other will be instantly broken. At that time, within the territory ruled by these forces, a very tragic and shocking war will definitely break out with the Kree Empire. And with the incredible effect of weapons like the Axiom Cannon, the outcome of the war will definitely be very tragic. In order to obtain the great weapon of Axiom Cannon and realize its ambition to expand the scope of its rule, the Kree Empire dispatched an interstellar team to perform this task. In order to prevent the Kree Empire from obtaining the Axiom Cannon, the Nova Empire also sent out their Nova team to fight against them. But what no one expected was that neither the extremely powerful Star Team nor the prestigious Nova Team completed their respective missions on the Sigler Star. On the contrary, Star-Lord, an unknown person, got there first and stole the data recording the manufacturing data of the Axiom Cannon. The superhero duo who learned the seriousness of the matter, Anna and Carol, also decided to participate in this incident. In order to ensure the harmony and stability of the universe, the Axiom Cannon, which is regarded as a level universe nuclear weapon, has only two choices before Anna and Carol. Either the Kree Empire and the Nova Empire cannot obtain the manufacturing data of the Axiom Cannon, or both of them can obtain this data at the same time. All in all, the existing balance and order must not be easily broken. So Anna and Carol began to continuously contact the alien races they had helped before, collected a lot of information about Star-Lord from them, and tracked them all the way to Xandar. This Star-Lord is bold enough, knowing that he is being hunted by the Nova Legion, and Xandar is the home base of the Nova Legion, the home planet of the Nova Empire. People who don't know must think that Star-Lord is a brave person with great skills, but those who know Star-Lord know that he probably just didn't think too much and knew about Xandar Star, a black market trading point closest to Sigler Star, so I came directly. But in this situation, even if Star-Lord wanted to sell it, the person in charge of the black market would not dare to accept it. They are not as courageous as Star-Lord. The two empires, the Kree Empire and the Nova Empire, are competing for things at the same time and dare to snatch food from each other. Just when Star-Lord walked out of the black market trading point in despair, he didn't notice that someone behind him was already eyeing the thing in his hand. These two people are Rocket Raccoon and Groot. As bounty hunters, Rocket and Groot are not only well informed, but also have richer channels and connections than Star-Lord, a predator. What others dare not ask for has become their exclusive source of wealth. After receiving the news, the two of them predicted Star-Lord's movement trajectory in advance, and then lurked outside the black market trading point of Xandar. Then everything went as Rocket expected, and Star-Lord appeared on Xandar with something. And the person in charge of the black market really did not dare to take the risk of angering the two empires by accepting the things from Star-Lord. Wouldn't Rocket and Groot's opportunity come now? Rocket has already contacted the famous collector Tanya Tiven in advance, and the other party expressed his willingness to pay a high price to add such a dangerous collection to his treasure house. With Tanya Tiven's power and connections in the universe, she does not need to give face to the Kree Empire and Nova Empire, and is fully capable of accepting the hot potato of Axiom Cannon. But just when Rocket and Groot were about to take action, they saw a new bounty on the Bounty Hunter's internal bounty channel. The bounty amount was 40,000 Universe Federation credits, and the target of the bounty was the Star. Star-Lord was put on a bounty, but the person who issued the bounty was neither the Kree Empire nor the Nova Empire, but the captain of Star-Lord's previous group of predators who worked so hard to feed him. Yongdu. For such a great opportunity to make money, how could Rocket and Groot, who are bounty hunters, give up? Anyway, they both wanted to snatch the precious information from Star-Lord. Wouldn't it be reasonable to kidnap someone along the way? So Rocket and Groot immediately changed their original action plan and temporarily decided to accept the bounty on the dark web. Star-Lord is alone, and he looks stupid and not too smart. Rocket is very confident that he and Groot are fully confident that they can take him down. However, Rocket obviously still underestimated Star-Lord. After all, a child who can grow up in an environment surrounded by predators, even if he is a smart person, must be very smart with some means. As expected, they were not able to capture Star-Lord as easily as Rocket had hoped. Instead, they fought fiercely with each other and the excessive noise attracted the patrolling guards on Xandar. Because the three of them violated the public security regulations on Xandar, the three of them were imprisoned together. Anna and Carol, who came a step late, were also very worried after learning the news. The information about the Axiom Cannon was on Star-Lord, and Star-Lord is now imprisoned in prison, and his belongings will definitely be taken by the prison guards. Walk. Once the people of the Nova Legion learn this news, it means that the data of the Axiom Cannon will fall directly into the hands of the Nova Empire. Anna and Carol naturally cannot allow such a result to occur, so there is only one choice before them now: which is to sneak into the prison, find the Axiom Cannon information among Star-Lord's confiscated personal belongings, and then it was destroyed without anyone noticing. The two people's infiltration operation was perfect. Anna was responsible for opening the portal and taking the two people to the prison, while Carol was responsible for quickly eliminating the guards and monitoring. As long as no one sees their faces, then this infiltration is a perfect infiltration. There is no problem with Anna and Carol's logic at all. But the problem is that although their infiltration was done perfectly, the escape operations of the three guys, Star-Lord, Rocket and Groot, were even more perfect and faster. When the two of them were searching for targets in the prison, they discovered in the surveillance room video that Star-Lord had teamed up with Rocket and Groot to successfully escape from prison. It turned out that the three people successfully reached a united front after some communication in the prison. Star-Lord has been to this prison many times. It can be said that he has rich experience and is very familiar with the structure of this prison. Rocket Original has strong technical strength and can provide technical support for three people to jailbreak. Groot is responsible for combat power and ensures that when an accident occurs, he will take action to solve the problem as soon as possible. As a result, the three hit it off and cooperated with each other. They managed to escape from the prison with their belongings without alerting any guards. The result was that Anna and Carol missed the mark again. There is no other way but to collect information about the three Star-Lords through their connections again. While Anna and Carol were still waiting for the latest news, Star-Lord had sneaked into his beloved Mebane spaceship with Rocket and Groot. According to the cooperation content reached by the three in prison, Rocket and Groot helped Star-Lord escape from prison and gave up the bounty mission against him on the dark web. Star-Lord, on the other hand, wanted to share the proceeds from the sale of the precious information in his hands with Rocket and Groot. Now the three of them are preparing to set off together and drive the Milan to the void where the collector is. The Land of Nothingness is a famous know-nothing zone in the universe and is also the largest black market trading place. Its original existence is said to be the severed head of an ancient god. The reason why Collector is so rich and can buy all kinds of treasures he likes in the universe is that his main source of funds is the sale of various resources mined from the void. And although the Collector is powerful, all transactions have always followed the fair principle of your own will, and the price given is often higher than the actual value of the item. Such a good reputation is the reason why the Rockets initially chose to trade with him. The speed of the Milan spaceship is not very fast. After all, Star-Lord originally had little money to spend on modifying the spacecraft. So even though the flight route chosen by the rocket has shortened the voyage through multiple space jump points, when they landed in the void, Anna and Carol, who set off one step behind them, still arrived here before them. There is no way. Kamar Taj's secret portal is so abnormal. In fact, even if Star-Lord's spaceship uses the most advanced power system, they will never be faster than Anna and Carol. This time, the two finally got in front of Star-Lord and the others, and successfully stopped Star-Lord and the others when one of the three landed. Under the vigilant gazes of Star-Lord and the other three, Anna patiently told them about the data recorded in the document in Star-Lord's hand, and how much harm it would bring to the universe if it fell into the hands of someone with intentions, and she wanted to persuade them to transfer the data. Leave it to yourself and Carol. That's the way it is. I think you don't want your home planet to be attacked by Axiom Cannon one day and turn into dust in the universe, right? A look of hesitation appeared on Star-Lord's face, and it was obvious that he was persuaded by Anna. Although Star-Lord is a very smart person, he is not originally a good person in the worldly sense, but his mother has always kept his education in mind. And Anna's last words really spoke to his heart. Although he had not lived on Earth for a long time, the happiest memory in his life was buried there. If someone wants to destroy the Earth, Star-Lord will not allow it under any circumstances. But before Star-Lord could speak, Rocket Raccoon said first, "If this thing really happens, then I'm quite looking forward to it. You guys have been talking nonsense for so long. To put it bluntly, you just want of what we have, right? Then use the money to buy it. I tell you, don't think that you can use those righteous excuses to attack us. Moral kidnapping. As long as we have no morals, you will never try to kidnap us morally. And who knows whether what you say is true or not, maybe you are the real terrorists compared to the Kree Empire and the Nova Empire. What's more, if I can't live my own life, who cares what will happen to your universe in the future? If I don't survive that time, even if the universe is destroyed, it doesn't matter to me. So, don't waste our time with those nonsense. If you really want that information, just come up with real money to impress us. As long as you give enough, we can fulfill your request. Righteousness, otherwise there is no need to discuss anything else. When Rocket said this, Anna and Carol were fine. After all, they have been wandering in the universe for a long time, and among the people they have met, there are many people who think like Rocket. On the contrary, Star-Lord and Groot beside Rocket all cast a look of contempt at it. Hey, hey, hey. Don't be ungrateful, you two. I'm negotiating the price with you too. Am I right? What we took such a big risk to get, why should we hand it over for free? Quote. We are not superheroes. Groot and I are bounty hunters, and you, Quill, are a predator. What's wrong with wanting to fight for our interests? You are amazing, you are noble, you can despise me now. Okay, that's great, you are amazing. You asked me to bring you here, have you ever thought about asking me to bring money back? I'm telling you, I don't want to go back to that bullshit home planet at all. Do you know what kind of bullying I suffered there? Do you know what kind of bullying I suffered? Just because I have no power or power. I'm defective, I'm a waste. What a broken place, a broken place, a broken place. I just want to catch up to the top step by step, and become a rich man. Seeing Rocket like this, Star-Lord and Groot were both at a loss and a little ashamed at the same time. However, Anna came to Rocket, gently stroked the fur on its head, and gently comforted, don't be so excited, we didn't say we wouldn't give you money. Be good, be good. If you have any grievances, just tell me and Carol. When the current matter is resolved, Carol and I will help you come forward. Unexpectedly, as soon as Anna finished speaking, Rocket, who was so excited just now, immediately put on a Philistine smile, rubbed his hands and asked Anna, how much can you pay? Let me tell you. If it's less than what the collector gives us, we won't sell it. Seeing this, both Anna and Carol, as well as Star-Lord and Groot, were all black lines at the moment, and they had a new understanding of Rocket's shamelessness. Your acting skills as a bounty hunter are too much for you. If you had become an actor, you would have made a lot of money and reached the peak of your life. Carol, who had never spoken much, couldn't help it at this time, complained. As a result, the Rockets waved their hands and responded, oh, you think I haven't thought about it, but in today's entertainment industry, strength and acting skills are not talked about at all, only appearance and traffic. Even if I have acting skills, if I want to make money, I have to find a director or producer with special quirks and have in-depth exchanges with them about the hidden rules. Although I am very shameless. But I am not shameless enough to earn such money. Quote. After Rocket said this, he immediately received warm applause from the other four people. The image of the Rocket that had just collapsed in the minds of the four people suddenly rose up and became taller again. Okay, Rocket, please tell me how much the collector paid for the information you have. If the price is within my affordability, I will give you a satisfactory price. Anna said to Rocket. Although the Rockets look greedy for money at the moment, in fact, they are in a very complicated mood. Anna's gentle caressing of its fur just now was too lethal for a raccoon. What's more, Anna is the first human being that it has met since leaving that place who is so gentle to it. Rocket could see from Anna's eyes that it was not a kind of charity given to pets by humans from above, but a respect based on equality for both intelligent beings. This feeling made the Rockets, who were used to being looked down upon and despised by others, very uncomfortable and even a little uncomfortable. Therefore, in order to avoid being seen as weak, the Rockets could only immediately put on the money-grubbing Philistine mask that they had always used to show others. But when Anna said that she really wanted to pay for the information they had, Rocket's forced mask couldn't be stretched anymore. Because its original purpose was just to make Anna and the two retreat from the difficulties, but they did not expect that the other party would face the difficulties instead. With no other choice, Rocket could only bite the bullet and say, 2.2 billion Universe Federation credits. As soon as Rocket finished speaking, before Anna could react, Star-Lord jumped up, 2 billion credits. Didn't you tell me 200 million credits before? You planned to cheat me from the beginning. What about me, right? The Rockets instantly slapped themselves on the forehead, talking about how desperate it was to have a pig teammate beside them when they lied. Destroy it, hurry up, I'm tired. Star-Lord was reluctant. What? Why are you still tired? Explain to me quickly, how much did the collector bid? Are you trying to trick me? Star-Lord grabbed Rocket by the collar, kept shaking it and yelled at it. Seeing this kind of sobriety, how could Groot let others bully his friends? A vine stretched out from his hand, wrapped around Star-Lord's right foot, and then directly hung him upside down. Put me down. Put me down. You two liars actually teamed up to deceive me. You have no martial ethics. Star-Lord yelled while struggling. But at this moment, Anna's words caused everyone, including Star-Lord, to fall silent instantly. It's only 2 billion credit points, which is not a lot. I will give you another 100 million credit points, if you have no problem. How about we pay and deliver the goods now? After Anna said this, even Carol looked at her in surprise. Although Carol has long known that Anna is a rich second generation, after all, as the princess of the two kingdoms of Asgard and Heimdall, Anna cannot be short of money. But even so, Carol never expected that Anna would be so rich. This is 2 billion, not 20 yuan. And Anna also added a small goal for the three of them. In Anna's eyes, this is just a small amount of money. But what Carol didn't know was that although Anna had not been short of money since she was a child, she was not so rich that she could easily take out 2 billion Universe Federation credits. After all, no matter how rich Asgard and Heimdall are, most of their assets are owned by the treasury, or they are fixed assets and cannot be used at will. The reason why Anna was able to act so heroic in front of several people was mainly due to the king's treasure given to her by Loki. With only 2 billion Universe Federation credits, Anna just needs to sell a few useless treasures. It doesn't feel bad to buy ETN anyway. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.